and welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do thank you for tuning on in here on a wonderful Friday, Conference Championship Friday, as it'll be known around these parts. Your Seattle Seahawks en route to try to go back to another Super Bowl this Sunday, playing at home, playing against the Los Angeles Rams. And one of the real big keys in this game, perhaps maybe one of the most major keys in this game, is what you can do with that Rams offense. It is a good one, no doubt about that. And this matchup just entails and goes to show you with what you're dealing with here in this one. You got the number one scoring offense going up against the number one scoring defense. Something has got to give in that case. And we have seen this Rams team just this year have success offensively against the Seahawks defense. And we've also seen this year the Seahawks defense have success against this Rams offense. So it does beg the question, as I was sort of thinking about this game and the lead up to this game and everything that might be entailed, is, what is it going to take to kind of take down this offense? And by take down this offense, I do not believe stop this offense. I do not believe you're going to be able to put any kind of clamps on them like you have been able to with the 49ers the past couple of weeks. This is just a wholly different type of situation you're dealing with this offense, different from a health standpoint, different from a talent standpoint, different from the who's quarterbacking standpoint. So while the Hawks defense is ripping and roaring and going hot, and that's certainly going to impact in this game to a degree, this is also going to be a Rams offense where you're trying to kind of contain things down. You're trying to kind of just bottlenose it up a little bit here, be your defense, and kind of find maybe a happy middle ground between those two performances that we saw, although it certainly would be nice to be able to just fully put the clamps on them. So we're going to do a little bit of look at today as far as I got 11 items we're going to look at that I think are really intricate keys towards dealing with this Rams offense. And you guys may have a couple extra you can throw on top of this in the chat that might come to your guys' mind. But these are the ones where I look at and I say, you can't take out the whole offense. You're not going to stop everything, but you can concentrate on certain specific items and try to limit down those certain items. And that gives you a better chance, I think, on the day of going out there and finding success defensively speaking. Now, play your defense, do all the other stuff. There's certainly a mode to that. Like, this is what we've done. We're going to keep doing what we've done. But these are going to be the items that I think are most important to be aware of and try to concentrate on in order to try to remove down, to try to find where you can kind of, again, not let them have everything working, take away some things at the very least, which I'm expecting Mike McDonald to do so. So without further ado, let's get on into these. If you guys can, for me as you walk in the door today, hit that like button, sub on up, as I would really appreciate it. We are going to, I know I say this a lot, we are doing a quick show today. I've got a Rams collab I'm doing here in about an hour and a half or so. So we will be going just really fast through this show today a little bit. Not as much of the interaction on the chat, just a little bit on that side. So thank you guys for watching today. And let's bounce into the first thing out the rip here. And this is going to be the only item that I'm going to speak about in regards to running the football, because this is going to be 10 items that really have to do with, by and large, how you deal with the pass. That's, to me, when I look at this Rams offense, where I'm most concerned. Yes, Kyren Williams is a good running back. Yes, they run inside quite a bit, as you can see with the inside rush percentages that I'm posting right here. Yes, they don't run outside a lot, and that's going to be a little bit of the key on this little key of what you can do. But I think the Seahawks have more than proven now, 28 straight games without a 100-yard rusher. They've more than proven, even up against this Rams team in the past couple of matchups with Kyren, that they can keep this pretty well stopped up, that there's not going to be a lot of adjustments that need to be made in order for you to take care of what they do in the ground game. And what does stand out with the Rams is how mightily they are going to run inside versus outside. And I think anytime that any NFL team gives you that they're 32nd in the rate of doing this, we're 32nd in the rate of doing that, well, then that's really highly predictive. And that does then mean that you can counter off that predictability by taking advantage of it, by leaning away from where you're thinking they'd be unpredictable and go to the predictable. In this case, third on rush percentage runs inside. So I, as a defense, know you're going to run the ball at the lowest rate in the NFL to outside the tackles, outside zone, pitch plays, those kind of things, that you're going to live there between the tackles. Well, I can kind of know that a little bit. And this is very helpful, I think, when we're talking about defense from the Seahawks, who runs light boxes. And so if they can have a little bit of understanding in those light boxes, which already kind of puts them a little bit behind the eight ball a little bit on plays, when especially you got 13 personnel, let's say, from the Rams. Well, if I know that I can probably count on them trying to run this up the middle and that's where they're going to concentrate, can I lean a little bit? Can I take a cheat step in a certain way? Can I take a leverage cheat, just do an inside shoulder a little bit versus playing a guy straight up because I know the ball's going to come right here. I do wonder if the Seahawks defense has some openings here to be able to take advantage of it in that way. and would look for them to do so in this game. So I don't think that the Rams are going to necessarily run. They're going to stay semi-committed to it, but a big part of me leaning towards the passing items on this has to do with, number one, the Seahawks doing so good at stopping the run against the Rams in the last couple of years. They've really honed it down. It's one of the major things this defense put as a centerpiece to what they're going to do this year, and they've executed in every single game. So it's that, and then it's also partially that Sean McVay just has a weird penchant for getting away from the running game, sometimes without reason. Your running game goes well. You're in inclement weather last week against Chicago, yet he just seems to sometimes begrudgingly run the ball and just wants to do it almost for show at times versus really staying with it. And I don't think this is going to be the game where he suddenly learns that lesson and suddenly becomes hyper run centric, especially when he's got Stafford and you have that easy button back there and you just want to push it. You want to push it a lot. And, the 4 yards in a cloud of dust kind of runs aren't very exciting, especially that's all you're getting over and over again because Kyren's more of a kind of a grinder running back where he'll get you those consistent yards, but he's not popping off 20, 30, 40-yard runs. It's not really as much in his game, nor in Blake Corum's. But all the more reason to me that you can cheat a little bit here, where if they do attack outside, it's not likely that you're going to get pasted on that. You'll be able to cover that up, I think, as well, especially the speed that you have on defense. So lean a little bit to the inside runs would be my first item I'd say pay attention to and keep note of. Next up on the list here would be attack Stafford on play action. And this is going to be one where I've got some cut-ups for you guys on this from the first couple of games. And what do I mean by this? Well, I can tell you, or I guess I can just show you, can't I? So let me, let's get a bigger file. First game of the year here. Attack on play action. What do we mean by this? It means that a lot of times within this Ram system, they're going to leave a free edge rusher on play action. And they're counting on that free edge rusher to attack in the run game, to go after running back, to not be on Stafford when he comes out of the play action. What really stood out in that first matchup, and what you did a great job with, is attacking in Stafford on the play action. Uchenna takes a little bit of time here to get on an inside route, but then quickly gets on Stafford and knocks the ball down. The more you can get on Stafford off that play action, considering and keeping in mind that this is the team that's number one in the NFL in play action usage rate. So they will run play action 24/7. You can count on that. Play action can be very difficult to deal with. But if you can get an edge rusher who is uncovered, now you have a potential of just getting right on top of Stafford essentially and eating up the play whole before it's even gotten a chance to get started. I got a variety of these plays I can show you guys here. Again, Uchenna, similar here. Ball gets dirted. He's attacking, unblocked a little bit. Not fully unblocked, kind of a chip block, but chip block, unblocked, it's very similar there. The guy's not trying to sustain the block on you. He's going to let you pass. So if you can show an urgency to get on top of the quarterback, now you have an opportunity here to really put this play to bed before it even gets started. As you can see here, where Stafford's more than willing to kind of kill a play if he just does senses it's not going to go anywhere. He's more than happy to do so. It's part of how he's avoided interceptions this year. So there was a lot of this in the first matchup, I'm telling you. It was all over the tape. They did such a good job of this in anticipation. Great job of Mike of having them prepared for this stuff. Again, Boye Mafe, attack the play action. Play action, Mafe, chip block, gets on top of Stafford quick. Get out there and attack his hand. Stafford's got nowhere to go because Uchenna Boye also knocked his guy down on the ground. Both him and Tayakata did on that play. But you can see with Stafford, he's more than willing to just kind of dirt a play up. He's not going to try to extend it out. If you can get in his face like this, he'll be like, okay, I'm good. That play just didn't work. I'll say this about Stafford. He's a tough guy, but he is reaching that stage of his career where he's taken a lot of hits and he kind of doesn't want to be taking more hits. Can't blame him. Just the way it is. Come back again on this. DeMarcus Lawrence, attack the quarterback. You can see on these plays with DeMarcus, not a little bit of looking at the running game, right? A little bit of stop hesitancy for Kyren for a second. But this is where I say almost at times you almost don't do it even on that. Just go get Stafford. Go attack him. Take away this part of their offense, the play action game. Understanding like that 30-second rate that I showed on outside runs, this is what they do at the highest tendency and rate in the NFL. You can count on it, and you can count on you're likely to get an edge rusher or one of your defensive linemen with a free pathway to go get the quarterback because the Rams system buys in inherently the fact that your defensive linemen are going to try to go gather up on that run game, on the play action, that will be where their first step is. And here, you've seen a couple of these, like with Boye, it's kind of proven right. His first step is to the right. His first step is the running back, but then he does come back and attack the arm of Stafford. This is going to be a big key in this game. Take this out of their game plan, especially if they aren't going to stay committed to running the football. The one here, this was from the second game. Same situation here. Now, Davis Allen had a little bit of a case of the dick fingers in this game, had about 3 drops. Don't think this goes for a lot anyway, but I do just like Boye here fully attacking again just off the chip and getting back there with that sense of urgency. They're not giving Stafford a long time. He's got to kind of underhand this and throw it at kind of an awkward angle. So something you did a really good job of in both games. One last one here to show you. And every time they went to this, you kind of had a guy there. Derek Hall, get around the tight end. Don't buy it. Don't let yourself get blocked. Just go attack Stafford. That's the key here for you. Go attack him, get into his face. And again, Stafford, you can see here, a little jumpy now as he gets a player in his face, risking thinking I'm going to have to take a hit. Gets the ball away a little bit quicker than he would be. If he holds that for a second longer and then throws it in there, he's going to maybe take a hit, but much more likely he gets a chance of completing the pass. But these are just the kind of throws where you can feel from Staff, I don't want to take an unnecessary hit. I'll kind of just dirt this play up or just try to make an off platform throw and see if I can kind of sneak the ball in there. And that's where you, I think, could take advantage in this situation to a pretty big degree, in my opinion. I know I said that was the last one, but got one more here for you. Just to kind of level in this point fully. Just to harden it in here. Again, back to the second game. No, this one's messed up. Never mind. That's bad cut on that one. Play action. Boye Mafe right in his face. Ball a little bit outside. Davis Allen dick fingering it. It's actually a really good throw by Stafford considering the guy's right in his face. But look at the nice shot you get on Stafford here. Why does Stafford want to avoid getting hit anymore? Because of shots like this from Uchenna. Bam. Right in the bread box, and you can see that didn't feel good on Stafford. He's grabbing right for his ribs right after that hit. Attack Stafford on play action. Big key in this game. You're a free edge rusher or you're just getting chipped, feel the chip, and then motor like 100 miles an hour to Stafford. Not mobile. He's not going to get around you. If you can just get on top of him, it's about how quick you can get on top of him, how much you don't get predisposed to thinking about it being about how do I defend the run here? No. Go attack, get downhill on that. Third item, be on guard for Stafford's quick snaps. There's a couple things that are going to go in conjunction with this one. So first off, Matt Stafford doesn't do this a lot. In fact, Matt Stafford does a really good job of countering things up. Like an edge rusher would counter up their different pass rush moves. Stafford will counter up how he approaches the line of scrimmage and what he does, what he's going to do. And so Stafford's got 2 different things that they do in the Rams offense that stands out. One is that there's the quick snaps that come into play. So a lot of times with Stafford, most of the time with Stafford, he comes up the line of scrimmage. McVay's giving him time to assess, giving him time to use his brain and his wise mind to be able to figure out what you're doing defensively. And he's going to go through a lot of machinations. It's going to be old Peyton Manning, Omaha kind of situation there where he's getting guys corrected. Then there are times he counterbalances that with coming up and just doing a quick snap. Like I'm going to walk up, and as soon as that center puts his hand on the ball, he's snapping the ball. I might not even call hike. And what is really cool about what the Panthers and Bears have done the past couple of weeks to give you a little bit of a peek into what could work against this is when you get the quick snaps, you then have automatic blitzes in place. So you're automatically having a will linebacker blitz, or you're having a slot corner off the edge like Imanwari blitz. And it's what I call kind of a shock blitz. Not a blitz where you're walking up the line of scrimmage and showing your hand, but one where you're actually in your position doing what you're doing. You're in your basically normal alignment of your position, and then post snap, you're driving like hell as a blitzer. And what happens with that quick snap is that Stafford goes up there on the quick snap, and yes, he prevents the defenses from getting a lot of their adjustments on the other side of what they're seeing on the personnel, but he also prevents his offensive line from getting their pass blocking set up right to prepare for a potential blitzer. They're just going to block it up the way that it was originally designed by the play, which opens the door more for you to be able to get a blitzer there on that shock style of blitz. So have a bit of a plan and be on guard for Stafford's quick snaps. The other second part of this that goes in conjunction with this is the up tempo. Rams will run up tempo. And the Seahawks did a really good job when they ran up tempo the last time of running a couple of blitzes in the same manner, these shock blitzes, where what you tend to think from a defense if you're an offense is we run a play, now we're going to come up and we're going to run now another quick snap, and we're going to think from you defensively that you're going to stay in something vanilla, or you're going to repeat the same play call you had before. You may even run a different kind of coverage on the back end, but you're probably by design not going to be hyper aggressive off of our up-tempo look. So that's where I'm hoping to kind of capture you as a quarterback. I'm capturing you from, I want to keep your personnel on the field. And then I'm also thinking I'm going to get the vanilla play call from you defensively because you don't have time to huddle up and get the guys on the right game plan or the coach to see what you're going to do. Instead, what the Seahawks did in the first matchup especially was when they ran that up tempo, they would have those blitzes in place. And just like what I said on the quick snaps with Stafford, when you're running the up tempo and you're going fast like that, you don't always have a chance to get the protections in place. They're just trying to get back up there and take advantage of the defense's personnel and get into the snap and get into the play a little bit. So two different spots that you can kind of take advantage of a Stafford with this if you're concentrating on it in a very specific way. But two things that hopefully Mike McDonald's got kind of built in as a way to sort of counter some of that, what they do, because you can definitely anticipate that the Rams are going to do it. Third item, and this is a little bit of right there with the same thing of the blitzing. If you're going to get caught with the blitz, and Mike's not going to probably blitz a lot, big factor in the first game is you blitzed. Second game is that you blitzed a lot in the second half, and then you dialed up back those blitzes tremendously in the second half, and you just rushed with the front four, and you're able to generate pressure. You're able to get 3 and outs. You're able to force the Rams to punt. So, being careful about blitzing Stafford, I'd say, would be a very important part of this game. The Panthers and Bears have both hyper blitzed him to a big degree here in the playoffs, and some of it's worked until it hasn't. And it's a live by the sword, die by the sword thing, and I just don't think we have to necessarily do that. But if you as a defense do have a blitz, and it's not that shock style blitz that I just talked about, but instead the traditional one where I as a slot am trying to time it to where they set their protections, and then I'm able, let's say I'm a slot corner blitzing, I'm able to then kind of creep down the line and get right outside the outside shoulder of my defensive end just prior to the snap to be in a real prime place to blitz, to be closer to the quarterback blitz first when I'm out there as a slot. And if you do that and you show your hand and you see Stafford tap his helmet and goes to the roll motion, that means they're going to change their protections to you. That means they've caught you on it. And at that point, Mike's got to have something inherently in the defense to be able to go, okay, call off what we just did. Let's chess match this. We bring something up, he catches us, we pull back up out of it. Hopefully we've got him now adjusting to our adjustment, which now adjusts into the original play design, and we've got him captured potentially there. But don't do it to where you've shown your blitz, he's caught your blitz, and then you just keep your pants down there and try to run through the play, like you're waddling along there with your pants around your ankles. Nobody wants to be doing that. If he sees your blitz, he got a catch for it. He's going to have an adjustment to it. He's going to slice and dice you up on the back of that. So it's got to be well-timed, number one, but number two, you got to be willing to be humble enough, defensively speaking, to go, okay, we really want to run a blitz here, but he's got it called up. He's got to protect it up. Maybe we got to kind of fall off this one just a little bit. We'd like to see them try to do that on this because it seemed like, especially last week with the Bears, a little bit with the Panthers, man, when they had the blitz called, and then when he caught it, they didn't adjust out of it, and then you gave him just the easiest path there for a completion. There's one Puka play in particular where they're blitzing off one side. He's got Puka on that side, brings Puka in motion to the other side of the field. They keep the blitz. They've got nobody aligned on Puka post-snap, and then he can just throw it right there to Puka. That's not going to work. That's not the way to roll with this. So off-guard blitzes were also what I just talked about a little bit with those shock blitzes when they're running up tempo. When Stafford's trying to run some of those just quick snaps, have some predetermined things built in from a couple of plays where those guys can come in and just instantaneously go, okay, I'm blitzing here. Let's take advantage of this. We know their protections are going to be stagnant here post-snap because they've had not the time to adjust them. Tackle on reception. This one's straightforward. This one's easy. The Seattle Seahawks have done a phenomenal job about this throughout the course of the season, and they have been even better about it in recent weeks against the 49ers. When you give up a completion, have a guy there tight in space to make the tackle and make your tackles in this game. Tackling is going to be very important. Preventing these Rams teams that want to sometimes, they'll take their shots down the field, but they're going to want to, a lot of times as well, try to find a way to, just work the ball up the field a little bit with a short passing attack. So the more that you can be, of course, on those plays and tackle them in space instantaneously, the tight end screens that they like to run, get on top of that, tackle those instantaneously. The more you can get them into more of the 3rd and 7s, the 3rd and 8s, which of course with the Mike McDonald defense allow you much more possibility of being able to really get into where Mike can make offenses most uncomfortable. I think that's where he's at his best, is when he's got you 3rd and 8 and longer. That's where he can put you into a bind by what he sets up for you, stylistically speaking. But it's going to be heavy reliant. This isn't much about an adjustment or a scheme thing. It's just going to be your tackling's got to be on point. And if you give up a catch, you got to tackle a man where he stands. We can't have extensions on these catches or anything like that. And the good news here is that the Rams are 32nd in average separation in the league on their route running. So that means that when Stafford's throwing it in there, he's throwing it in there some tight windows, and that there's likely then that you're able to bring those guys down right after the tackle then because of that. But it's going to be a very important key on this game and something for them to be aware of. And you come up, you got to tackle the guy in space. No broken tackles, no extensions of the runs. Specifically, hopefully, getting him into more of the 3rd and longs off the back of that. Man press looks. Looking at the first 2 games here with the Rams, it does really stand out to me that you have a lot of zone coverage, a lot of loose zone coverage at times in these games that was attacked by Stafford. And when you ran man coverage, you made it a lot harder on this Rams offense to find success. So first off, a man press look means that I'm up in press coverage. I'm up in a man look kind of situation. Now you can do this with, you can drop out of this into zone at times. But as we'll see on my second point here, I would also like to see them lean into this with going from man press looks where I'm up in press and it looks like man, and not necessarily dropping back into zone, but intermixing a lot of man-based coverage concepts. I just spoke to the fact that they don't create a lot of separation in this Rams team. So what you would worry about if you're going to run man-based concepts with receivers is that they're going to create too much separation. Our corners can't stay with them. That's not the case here, just on this, basically the numbers and what they tell you about the receiving core just going up against a generalized opponent week in and week out, and their inability to create a lot of separation. You have really good corners on the back end. You've got really well corners that are really well suited to play man coverage concepts. So this is just leaning into something that you already do well, leaning into going at what is kind of a little bit of a weakness for this Rams team on paper with this, and then hopefully being able to really take advantage, because I feel like when you run zone here against this Rams team, they just take you apart. And let's show you a couple of these to kind of, lock this in, I guess, a little bit. So first off here, let's go back on this play. I want to unpack, because a lot of these you'll have man-based coverage concepts on point. So you got, man to the top side of your screen. Job's running man up there, press man look, just like I'm asking for, right? Does Stafford go for the press man look here? Or does he attack where you've got off coverage and you're playing zone with the trips at the bottom of the screen? And the answer, of course, is it's trips. And this is just a basic stylistic play from the Rams of run the front side coverage off, set the tight end behind him on the zone on an out route, and it will be wide open. You give free plays like this, you give Stafford too much of the zone stuff, and he's going to pick it apart. He's going to find the hole. It's just the way it's going to work. And looking through a lot of the tape, but this is what would happen, where you'd have a man to one side, and then Stafford would just go look to attack where you had at the other place where you had the loose zone. And that's where he's going to go. So again, here we've got the Puka. This is Puka running down here. You're again not in a man coverage look here, right? So Witherspoon up and press, a little bit of a man press look like I was asking for that I'd like to see, but then he falls into cover 3 post snap. Nobody ends up taking Puka. This is that landmark thing I talked about yesterday on the syndicate, where you have players in Drake Thomas and Ernest Jones that are trying to go to landmarks on the field. They're trying to guess the landmark for where the passes are going to go. Puka just runs in behind him. And it's a very simple, completed ball at that point. But it all starts and stems from you running cover 3, essentially. And again, look to the high side of the screen. You've got Woolen, man press, and he's running man. So just like I showed in the last play, you have a situation here where one side of the field you're running man, the other side of your field you're running zone, and Stafford's going to go after the side of the field where he knows you're running zone. Kind of interesting there, isn't it? Kind of odd that that's where he's going to go pick. And there's a lot of these snaps I can go through with you guys and show you on this. It's a little short throw here into space, but you don't have any man coverage on Puka here. He just comes back across this formation and he's left wide open. Short completion, but it's basically stealing. There's nobody out there in space prepared for him. It's not as great a representation of some of the other ones I've got here. And boy, that second game, this was a big problem. Big problem. So again, here you're trying to do a zone Zone drop here. Essentially, you're blitzing Imanwari from one side, and then you're zone dropping Boye Mafe to the other side here into space. You have off coverage with the corners. They're dropping to depth. So let's play this game again. We look to the bottom side of the screen. You're bringing double blitz. Your two guys climb up instantaneously, being Kobe Bryant, and then Julian Love gets over there to Puka. It's a very, very intricate little coverage they're running here. But you're running zone to the other side. Stafford feels the zone to the other side, hits the wide open player in space for a big play. The 467 yards, a very big amount of it was him going out there and getting that 467 yards passing in the last game on the back of these loose zones. Just want to kind of hammer this point in if I can here a little bit. Again here, man press looks. Love this. You're going from man press looks to zone here. Kyren gets a nice completion. 3-4 yard gain. Can I do a little bit of just kind of hammering this point because I want this to be kind of something we're really locked in here on. Yeah, for dropping back to throw again. Wide open Puka Nacua. No plan in place for him. And this is a play I just hate, where you end up with you end up with essentially 4 wide receivers for the Rams, and you're going to stay in nickel because you don't want to go into dime. So then you end up with Kobe Bryant. Look at this. I mean, he's well over 10 yards off of Puka. He's 13 yards off of Puka Nacua here. I don't see the benefit of this coverage here. This is putting Kobe in a position where he can't win. And he's got to stay topside, by the way, here. I'm sure he's also the top defender here if this goes deep. But again, it's zone coverage. And, you got man coverage on the outside. You got man coverage with Witherspoon on the bottom side. So look at Woolen, man coverage, press look. Off coverage for Witherspoon, man coverage. Where does Stafford go? To the zone part of your scheme. This is why I'm hammering this so hard, because you'll have these other spots you're running man, and then he just goes out there and attacks the one spot where you're not. And it's making it kind of easy on him. So again, zone coverage, landmarks. Look at your two linebackers here. Stop this right here where, look, luckily you get a little pressure and Stafford can't get the throw in there. He can't quite fit the throw in space. But you got your guys sitting here squatting down on the sticks, and then the Rams just run it past the sticks. So while it's not completed here, he is wide open there in the middle of the field. It's an awful miss there by Matt. And luckily you got pressure here. But zone defense by McVay in that first matchup really got crushed in a major way. Major way there. So you guys get the kind of point on this one. Zone coverage ain't the way with this. Loose zone coverage, especially. Remember the Buccaneers match up with us in the game this year. Similar issues at play like this game. You can really find a similarity between the two. So again here, off coverage, everything looking zone here. Cover 2 shell look prior to the snap. Post snap becomes cover 3. Julian Love becomes your single high safety. Outside cover corners are dropping to depth. And then they attack the cover 3 just like old school they used to with the Carroll defenses. In cutting routes. Where's the vulnerability in cover 3? Right at the hash marks. Where's the throw at here? Right at the hash mark. Because zone, you got the safety goes up here. Your corners are going to drop to bail. So you got 3 guys going high side. Those in cutting routes are going to be the ones that are open. So we just can't run as much zone as we did prior, in my opinion, especially when we got the horses to be able to run the man coverage looks. So very important key there in this game as we come into this. Man press looks, but then man coverage. Run the man coverage. And you go, but Brandon, do you have any examples of us actually running man coverage where there was success? Yes. Yes, I do. And now this one isn't it. But again, this just shows you on this play, where's Matt going to? I got man coverage with Witherspoon at the bottom of the screen. On 17, Devontae Adams. I got Job, press, man coverage to the top side of the screen. I know I'm hammering this, but where does Stafford go? He attacks your zone. And Puka walks right into the zone where there's his own coverage there. Boom. Obviously, two attacking a linebacker in space and Jones here. That's a tough cover for him. But he goes to essentially where the zone element is of your defense. Over and over and over again. Okay, so this is a completed play, but you can see how much harder this is for a Puka. Press coverage. He's got to make a tough catch to make the reception. Like this a lot more. This feels harder on the Rams offense than just letting them float through our zones and pick them apart. Again, back over to Puka. Again, tough catch here. In man coverage, bottom of your screen. And Joe, press coverage. Love it. Down the field. Again, doesn't get his, don't think he got the second foot down. I can't quite remember. I want to say that he didn't get the second foot down here. Much happier making this where they got to live in this game. Show me you're going to live this way rather than us sitting back in those zones. Not that you can run man 24/7. I'm not advocating for that, but much more man usage than we did in that second game. Again here, this is a off coverage look that looks like man to me. So Job jumps on this route. Bottom of your screen, watch Job here. Starts out looking zone, but I think it's actually man as he drives on this route. This is the kind of stuff I'd like to see too. Or if you're off coverage, sometimes you're running man. And you're giving those guys that ability to go up there and tighten up on some of these routes a little bit. Not just stay loose back, preventing against a big play, but come up and actually take some of this stuff away a little bit. How about the second matchup there? Did we get much in it in that? Yeah. So there you got. What am I asking for? Man press looks, two-man coverage. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. What do you have at the top of your screen? Man press. That's the look. Not necessarily you're pressing him. It's a look of a man press. Witherspoon, top side. I'd love to be living here all day with him on Puka just like this. Make Puka show he can separate from Witherspoon on this game. But you can see there, Stafford's got no place to really throw to, doesn't trust it, tight little hole, tight little window, can't get it on in there. Man coverage works. I'm telling you, it works. There, you got off coverage. So this is like Mabel is what they call this, I believe. You got man coverage to the bottom side of the screen with Tariq Woolen. And you got your safety high, and then your man coverage. So Woolen zone, Job is man, and then you got your single high safety as you'd have. So cover three Mabels, cover three to one side of the field, man coverage to the other side. Woolen side of the field's the zone side, Job side's the man side. We get one of the rare instances where you've got Stafford trying to not go after the zone element side of it. And instead, and probably the reason is that they had a double move going there with Puka. So the double move takes him right into the cover three, doesn't it? So Stafford, smart guy, probably understands that. But then he's going to attack the man press look. And Job actually gets a little press, throws off, disrupts the route's timing, and you get a little bit of an overthrow. So hopefully you guys can kind of see a little bit on this and definitely give you some more examples as to why I'm really in favor of this and why when I'm looking at the tape that this is where I would prefer to be on Stafford. Again, even here, they get you on the double move here, but they still got to make the throw. And Matt misses the throw. So it ain't perfect. There's going to be moments with it where you're running man coverage and they can run the double moves on you, and that's one of the susceptibilities you can have to the double move at that point if they're going to run it. But that's a risk I'm taking in this game versus letting Stafford beat me by 10,000 cuts in the zone game, like kind of they did a little bit in that last game to us. And it's really where, zone inherently at the heart of it, you're wanting to try to be getting a place where you can actually stop the big plays and limit the big plays. And that's not what you were doing in that game. Again here, man from the slot, tight coverage on Puka. You got man out there with Witherspoon as well, or not Witherspoon, but who is that there? Is that Kobe Bryant? Yeah, Kobe Bryant out there. Kobe closes down though, gets on top of this route from from safety position. He's not playing zone here. See how he drives on that route right from the jump? You just create a tighter throw for Stafford to have to make here. But not sitting softly, not kind of bopping on his toes, waiting for something to climb to depth to him here, driving down on the route. Love to see it. Love to see it. A couple more of these I want to show with you guys on the man coverage side of it. So again here, outside, man press on the top side of your screen. Woolen gets a little bit beat, but he has some help in the inside. Witherspoon dropping to depth as well. Stafford's got to come down to his check down. So this is a little bit more zone-based one. I don't know why I put that one in. Include that one was a good one. We'll do one more here. All right. Off coverage here. Becomes a man match situation, I think, a little bit. Witherspoon in the slot. Staying tight on his man. Man coverage. Incomplete pass. You're not going to shut him down completely going to man. And certainly you got to intermix parts of this that are going to be zone. I'm not advocating or saying that this has got to be 24/7 run a man press looks. They're going to have answers for that. And this offense is too good to where, it's too good to where you can't just live in one thing and expect that's going to take them away. But more of mixing this in, a little bit less zone to me, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to try to go out there and do. Watching the tape just feels like you got the horses that can run man coverage. And sorry, I'm looking for my extra one here. You got the horses that can do this if you want to do it. Man coverage, bottom of the side of the screen with Woolen there. Tight. No easy throws on into still completed. You're going to get some completions, but I'd like this much more of testing them and making it harder on them for some of the zone stuff that can make it a little easier. All right, but I hammer that point. A little less zone. You got taken apart with your loose zones in the last game all over the place, including the Puka Nacua final touchdown that was almost for game. That happened on zone, not on man. So just let's lean into that a little bit if we possibly can in this game. All right, keep it rolling here. Careful on Stafford's eye manipulation. So something I noticed in scouting up on Stafford that he does, and I'm hoping the coaches also recognize a little bit of this, is what he has a tendency to do is early game, first half, he goes to the first read. So he first read, the ball's coming out, it's going there. And he sort of sets that as a standard a little bit. And then you get into the third and fourth quarter, and now he starts to go through the 3 and the 4 reads. It's not as much of this guy's covered, now I got to go to read 2, 3, 4. It's as much of I've set them up with this kind of rhythm, and he's really good on the rhythm thing. This is like the fast snap stuff. This is the stuff as a quarterback when you're in the league for this long, you develop these little tricks of the trade that add little extra layers on what you do from a quarterbacking standpoint of things. Like a young quarterback isn't doing that, right? A young quarterback comes out there in the first quarter and he's trying to go through reads if he can go through reads and trying to do throws throughout the game if he can. But Stafford's kind of mastered the position to this degree where he can kind of set defenses up in that way, get them used to the repetition of this, and now I start doing that. So if I'm in the second quarter of the game or I'm in the third and fourth quarter of this game and I'm plastered on my receivers and I'm seeing him to the first look, I can't think that first look he's going to is where he's going to go with. Got to stay on your guy because now's the time where he starts to come back to that second, third, fourth read in the way that he wants to set it up. It's a small little thing, but I saw him doing it a lot. I watched every Rams game this year, and you can see a lot of the games where early on, first read, and then it starts to develop a little bit longer down the game as he goes, especially with his willingness to kind of sometimes dirt plays and just kind of, put this ain't going anywhere. I'm going to throw it in the ground and we'll get back to the next play on it. So he'll even do that early in the game instead of necessarily going through the multiple reads like he will do a little bit later on in the game. How to deal with tight end screens. You're going to have a plan of attack on what you're doing with these screens. It's not fun. They've got a variety of different ways that they can run the screen game. It can come from the tight ends. It can come from the running back. It can be set up in a very hidden kind of fashion where it's just not your straightforward, normal kind of screen. And so That's what we got here. Kitty, I can't do this with you right now. Sorry. Can't do it with you right now. Okay. So here, you set up nicely, get out in space. Tyler Higbee goes out there and gets himself a nice little play down the space, right? I don't necessarily have the plan on what you're looking for it here because they're so good at how they run it, and they run it from a variety of different areas. They set it up really nicely. Like here, you've got one guy out in front for the tight end here. And so, normally a screen game, you have 2 or 3 guys kind of out in front on the guy. Just here, you get just one. Makes it harder to look for the indicators that this is actually a screenplay. And they catch you on a blitz here, so the timing is really good. But Nicky Manwari and Tayakata make a great play on this. Nicky Manwari especially. Look how fast he is to get to that play. Goodness, that kid can fly. But the screen game is going to be a part of what they run, and they're going to do it as much as anything. Not as much to attack you for your blitzes, but to attack you for how much you're going to try to get up the football field, and you're going to try to, rush the passer and get after him, especially with the front 4. They also run really good screen games out in space. Here they're able to attack us in off coverage. You get a nice little bubble screen there to Puka that works really nicely for them. So you run that far of off coverage there like that, and I think this was kind of a 3rd and maybe even a long here where they were trying to just see if they could sneak the first down out a little bit. But they're really good with running the bubble screen stuff too. Got to be worried about that just a little bit. Coming back into the second game, bubble screen to the other side of the field to Puka. You defend this one just a little bit better. But look how they set this up. And they get a couple of linemen coming in late there. They have a really good timing with this. They run it as well, I think, as just about anybody in the NFL. They don't overrun it. So they really mix it in at just a nice enough of a rate that you got to be aware of it, but they don't lean on it too much. It's going to be a little bit of a concern for me in this game because of the fact that we really are going to want to so badly get upfield on this team and have an opportunity to really go after them in that way. So got to find some answers in the screen game. They're going to utilize that. Got to find a way to, how can we get an ability to get up the field rushing the passer? This is where it can help you out, I think, having the front 4 that are going like demons up the field. And then you've got the 7 on the backside in coverage that, okay, if it is a screen play and our defensive lineman can't get back into the play, at least now we've got the 7 up in space to kind of rally up and go help out. So I think that's really where you probably lean into from McDonald's perspective is you say, I don't want to take the teeth out of my pass rush. Let's just trust our guys in the back end to clean it up if it goes that route with it, because you're not going to want to blitz a lot and you're going to need that front 4 to get the pressure on Matt. You haven't sacked him since like 2023 at this point. So a big onus in this game is going to be getting to the quarterback. Now it's easier said than done. They're top 10 in the NFL at getting the ball out of their hands. That's something you got to be aware of a little bit with them. And that's where this next note comes into play. Hands in passing lanes. Matt is really good about not being one trick, be it how he attacks, where he's looking to throw the ball and how he disperses the ball, the going through multiple reads into the second half when he kind of doesn't do in the first half, the quick snaps, the up-tempo stuff he runs, the fact that they really run a heavy divergence between the short passing attack and actually trying to push the ball down the football field. So you just can't ever really pin them down on one area of the field and how they attack. It's like Brock last week where you can take away the middle of the field, you can force Brock to throw outside the numbers and deep, and you can kind of box him in a little bit by doing that, forcing him to throw into some really, really, really tight windows. With Matt, that's not going to be as much the case, of course, because he's got the strong arm to make every throw in the book. But what you can do is be aware defensively of your keys to where if it's a short passing play that you get your hands up in those passing lanes if you're not able to generate pressure. Because there's a lot of tips to be had in this Rams offense. It's a West Coast offense. We see it at times with Darnold on the other side. It's a bit of what you have with the West Coast offense in general terms. You're going to get tip passes, but it's heavily reliant upon the defensive linemen actually getting their hands up in those passing lanes and being aware of those quick throws to where they can't get that pressure. A place where get a couple completions over the course of the game with a couple tip passes with active hands at the line of scrimmage could benefit pretty bigly around the other sides of what you're trying to do here defensively in this game and what you're trying to take away. You don't take everything away. Can you take a couple of things away along through the path that can all kind of add up to a pretty stellar defensive day at that point, taking on the number 1 scoring offense? And I think so. Last one, and maybe the most important a key as we have in this game coming into it is going to be, what are you going to do with Puka Nacua here? What are you going to do with Puka Nacua? Okay, Kitty, I can't do the cry thing. Sorry. We'll get you back in a sec here. Puka, 20 catches in 2 games this year for 300 yards. Now, did he decimate you in the first matchup with 7 catches and 75 yards? No, not necessarily. But is he getting his yards and getting him efficiently through these 2 games? Yeah. Do these productions show that you necessarily had a plan of attack in order to deal with them, or you're just running your defense? Kind of seems like you were just kind of running your defense. And I don't know if you can really do that coming into this game, or you can do it and maybe you'll get away with it. But it sure seems like a place that you can anticipate that the Rams offense is going to go in this game is going to be attacking and targeting Puka Nacua mightily. 16 targets in the last game, 8 targets in the first game. I think you can almost guarantee in a playoff game like this that he's probably somewhere between 12 and 16 targets. And if you know that going in, and that's how much they're going to utilize him, and you know that going in with a Rams team that probably doesn't want to throw the ball necessarily a ton in this game on the road, well, then I feel like you can kind of have a little bit of a plan of attack to deal with him. I know they're not going to run double teams, but this is where we come back to all of this kind of interworking together from my game plan standpoint of man press looks, man coverage concepts on the back end. Puka Nacua can beat man coverage. I know that's something that gets spoken out there of just play man and you shut him down. Well, to a degree on that, Atlanta played a lot of man coverage. Carolina doesn't play man coverage, but they play kind of an off man coverage where they can be 10 yards off and then they can drive on those in cutting routes and be prepared. Second that he makes the cut being Puka, they just jump on it. It sort of turns into man or man match kind of situations where you start out in zone, but it becomes man the second that you read where they're going on their route. They in cut, now you're out of your deep zone and now you're going to jump on that in cutting route. And so they did a good job in that game of doing that. And then last week you had the Bears running a ton of man coverage all over the place. So man coverage is to me one of the straight places, more than having to run the double teams or bracket coverage on Puka. Run a little bit of the man coverage concepts. Let him try to eat on that. He'll get some of his. He'll get his share here and there, but I think you're going to make him a lot less efficient in his catches. It'll be less of we've got 24 targets and 20 catches. 20 catches on 24 targets. You get more a little bit maybe down to like, hey, he got 14 targets on the day, but he only got 7 catches. I think you're going to get a little bit more there if you can own up to running just a little bit more of the man stuff in this game. Doesn't have to be 24/7, but boy, if you run the zone concepts like you did last game against Puka, if you give him Kobe Bryant 14 yards and off coverage prior to the snap and he's uncovered, if you're not disrupting the routes at all and doing any kind of physicality through the running of the routes and letting them run free and simple and letting the timing be perfect between the quarterback and receiver. We saw last week, Stafford's too good and this offense is too good that they're going to cut you apart if you're going to take that approach. So it's got to be, to me, a little bit more purposeful, this game plan in this game. It can't just be we're going to run what we run and just trust who we are. And that's what, this is the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. You might be able to limit them somewhat in that approach, but you're certainly then going to have to score a buttload of points probably on the other side like we did the last time if you're going to take that same kind of outlook. And I don't think they would. And there were some issues in the last game as far as probably having a little bit of a too complex of a defensive attack in that game for the short lead in of the week leading up to the game where you just had a couple of days to prepare and they needed more time. They're going to have the time to prepare now. And certainly I think Mike's been preparing for the potentiality of this game for at least the last couple of weeks in anticipation, and give Mike more time to kind of develop the game plan, give more time to get the game plan instituted, more chance that game plan's got a better chance for overall success. Those are my keys, though, to taking down and handcuffing this Rams offense. You don't stop them, but can you handcuff them a little bit? Can you take away the things that they like to do? Force them as you can to play left-handed, as I like to say, offensively speaking. I'd love to see it. And I think if you put some of these plans in place, it's going to go a long way to them having a little bit more success in this matchup than they had in the last one. Ain't going to stop them completely, but you can limit them down, and maybe you can even do a little bit of handcuffing. I don't know, just maybe. I'm hoping. My goodness, Megan coming in with a $500 donation. Oh my gosh. Look out. That'll wake you up, Megan. That'll wake you up. Wow. Megan, thank you for the $500 drop on that. You are just amazing. Our main mod in the house here. She's been run through the ring the last couple of weeks modding with all the 49er trolls, and then we've had Ram trolls coming out in force here the past week. It's been pretty wild. We've even got Bronco trolls coming in here, if you guys can believe that. So Megan, awesome on you. Thank you for the $500 drop. Thank you is never enough on that kind of big old drop in that way. But thank you for all of your support here through the channel. I know you're riding high right now, loving life like I am, and looking forward to the Seahawks team. You got the Back to the Future going on out there in Sydney. You got the game at the same time. It's like, we call heaven right there, Megan. called Shangri-La out there on that. But thank you for the $500 donation. That is incredible. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Greetings from Sydney's 12s. Feeling okay about the game. The Zorn jersey is hanging in the closet, and I'm looking forward to my ride in the DeLorean and final Back to the Future musical tomorrow. Onwards and upwards to winning it all. Hey, let's go win this whole thing, Megan. Let's go win this whole thing, and congrats on you. That's gonna be a lot of fun again for one more chance to check out that musical. And I gotta see if they ever come through San Diego at some point, Megan. You know, see if they ever get up here our way, and maybe I'll go check that one out. But thank you, all of your support through the years here on this channel. This is really a celebration at times of this team, and having the opportunity to be rooting for this team that's actually doing some great things and looks like they're right on the edge of being able to potentially raise that Lombardi trophy, and being able to experience it with you and these folks that have been here for years and gone through some of the trudgery, gone through some of the tough conversations and the debates, and just wondering what it's going to take and how long we're going to have to wait for this to get back to this spot potentially ever again. Are we ever going to get back that spot ever again? We know many franchises out there never get back, say nothing of those franchises like the Cardinals that have never been there. But it just means you cherish it that much more when you land there after it's been a while. You know how rare it is to be in this kind of place, and you absolutely celebrate it. I know you are, and I am, and we all are, and it's been a lot of fun just to be able to enjoy this experience with you guys. It adds in just another layer to the fandom a bit, to be able to do it with the community and have us all kind of be able to experience this a little bit together at the same time. Again, after a little bit of the past of having to turn over so many tough topics, and from Russell Wilson's to Coach Carroll's to should we keep this guy or that guy? What's the right coach? Who's the right offensive coordinator hire? Should we trade this guy or trade that other guy, DK and Gino? I mean, just so many tough conversations regarding this team. For the fruits of this to come about now has just been wonderful. But Megan, you are also wonderful, and all you do, my lady from Dananda, with all of your support to the channel. The $500 is tremendous on your part. Very, very kind of you for that. I know you've also dropped a big bunch of donos over on the NFC West Roundtable. Shout out to you for doing that as well, as that show just continues to cook along. That channel continues to cook along, and it's your support like that helps get it there. So thank you, Megan. Let's go get this all. Let's go win this. I mean, this team's got such a special feeling to it. Everything is riding in seemingly the right direction. The health is holding up really well. You're in a position here. You're in the position to strike. So let's just bring this home. We've got off the freeway, take the freeway off ramp. Now we just got to bring this thing home, bring it to the garage. But Megan, I salute you. I thank you. You are awesome. And really, really appreciate you for all you do for my channel, as you're helping out in a variety of different ways here. Variety of different ways. Really appreciate you for that. Woo! You guys are amazing. We'll do a little bit of discussion here, and then we'll kind of bank it off here. It won't be going really long today, but if you got any questions or you'd like me to respond to anything, just Brando, Hawks Nest, B, whichever it is on that. Hawks Punk, coaching staff has me trusting the process more than ever. Like Pete said, especially in the latter years, never adjusted like this team has when they needed to. The team can adjust, and Mike McDonald is a mastermind kind of guy in this way, and that he's not going to try the same thing over and over again, hoping it eventually does work. He will look for fixes. He will look for adjustments, and I like that about him. I don't like just putting it all on a player's plate, saying you guys got to figure it out. That's what you're there as a coach to do. It's an interrelation there. It is the players out there running free and fast and loose, yes, but it's also you setting them up stylistically, schematically, to then have that success. And if you're not doing that and you're just going, well, it's on them, well, no, it's then a bit part on you. And I have the same thing. The staff has me trusting them because they've earned this over the last 2 years, and showing you this willingness to constantly grow and adjust to what they need to do game by game, opponent by opponent. Debo says, me too, bro. I feel like this is real Super Bowl, biggest game of the year. It's a rival game. It's two of the best teams in the NFL. Doesn't get any better. No, it doesn't. Well said. Well said. It's a little bit like this stat, too. And it doesn't get any better, maybe from an NFL historical standpoint, Debo. When you look at this DVOA thing, and you've got Seattle at 41.2% as far as their DVOA, and the Rams at 39.9%, and that being the highest combination of DVOA ratings in NFL history. NFL history. And that's, to me, just shows you how incredible this matchup is as far as the stakes, but also how good these two teams that are battling each other truly are. And that it's maybe I hate to say it, best all-time matchup, at least from DVOA standpoint. They've gone back 50 years in their data. They've gone back and looked at these games and determined that, indeed have determined that, they rank these teams and whatnot year by year in that manner. So pretty incredible that this matchup is put in this way, and you get it at the conference championship. It is truly the Super Bowl this Sunday. It really is, in my opinion. Not that it's going to be a cakewalk in the Super Bowl. This is going to be the toughest game. Double says, will Rams fans still be here if they lose on Sunday? Only if they're blaming the refs? Probably. I imagine it'll go very quiet if not. Tony Wright, your 2 All-Pros, defensive tackle, defensive end Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence, plus rotational Boye Mafia will eat all Sunday. The Rams O-line will have to double team Byron Murphy, who's disruptive. Indeed. It's a big key in this game, Tony, is can you generate pressure? And as I was saying with this, we've not had a sack on Stafford since 2023. And, they did a really good job of cutting off our pressure. And the one place, though, that it did come forward, it seemed like, is once you went to the front 4 in that game in the second matchup, the pressure started to come, and you started to get Stafford uncomfortable at that point. So I would estimate they're going to lean a little bit more into that to start this game off and not do so much blitz-centric stuff to begin. But we've got dogs up and down that line, Tony, and you want to concentrate a double team on this guy. You're then freeing up this guy with a one-on-one, and usually somebody's going to eat at that point. But it's going to be one of the keys in this game that front 4 is able to generate the pressure without necessarily having to do a hyper amount of blitzing. You more want to pepper in the blitzes. Pepper them in. Thank you, Keldat, for reminding me. Please hit that like button if you get a chance from me folks today. Maybe sub on up. Would really appreciate it. Yeah, I addressed this last night to you, SoCal Ram. I mean, I don't know if you caught my response on the syndicate, but and I thank you last night for your donations over there. But there's no part of this that I've ever said at any point, because you just said all the Seahawks content creators. So you put the ALL word in there. I don't know that there's any point in time this week that I've ever come close to saying the Rams don't have any chance. I've said it's evenly matched. Part of the reason that I'm going through the details of this, what it takes offensively to handcuff this offense, is that it's a lot of details and a lot of things you got to get right to have that be accomplished. It's probably going to be hard to get all of those things done. I've got a 24-20 score that I have stayed true to throughout the week as far as what I've prognosticated the game to be. So maybe SoCal, you can elaborate on what you think, rather than speaking to other content creators who I have no control over what they say, right? Speak to what I say. What is it I'm saying? Address the points that I'm putting and presenting out there. Because both with what you said last night and what you're saying right here and now is not accurate to how I've portrayed the Rams throughout this week or throughout this season. So I kind of get touchy on this type of stuff, where if you want to disagree with me about something I actually think. Don't invent arguments for something that I don't think. Don't invent a disagreement that's not my belief. That's the stuff that drives me a little bit nuts. And where, let's operate and talk about the details of this. There becomes so much of this. My team's better. No, my team's better. No, my team's going to kick your ass. No, what I'm doing today, what I've done throughout the course of this week, SoCal, is break down the individual aspects of this game and the individual aspects of what it takes for both teams to go and get the victory. So I'm a little confused on your comment, especially you posting it a second time after I spent so much time last night addressing this very same point that you brought up, and doing so pretty exhaustively. Yeah, I think this is more reference. There's like a clip going on from like Hawkbar's channel and Evan Hill going off on something. And if you're going off with what Evan Hill said, and if that's triggering you as a Rams fan, Evan Hill being hyper confident, I mean, you're not really aware of like how Evan operates then at that point. You know what I mean? So, but that's not me. So don't paint the portrait that I'm the guy doing that, because I'm not. continually say on this, like I said last night with SoCal, I hear a lot of complaining from Rams fans. They don't think they're getting respect, where every pundit in the nation's basically thinking you guys get the win that I've seen just about out there. But I don't understand the, like, you guys are getting the short end of the shib somehow in the people's outlook of things. There's some that may be out there saying it, but I'm not saying it. That was for the Rams fans. Tony writes, my Atlanta Falcons had 4 sacks and 3 interceptions against Matt Stafford by constantly pressuring him, but also having our inside linebacker Caden Ellis and Divine Diablo cover their running backs and tight ends. Yeah, that's where it's going to be hard for us to replicate your guys' strategy there, Tony, because, you guys are a heavy blitzing team, and you live in the blitz nature of things and more comfortable in that blitz nature of things. Where I think with the Seattle Seahawks, there's just more of a comfortability in staying with the front 4 base to get the pressure. That we can blitz, that we're happy to blitz, but we just don't, it's not as inherently in our DNA like it was with you guys. And so it's going to be probably hard to bring as much out the exact game plan you guys brought out. There's probably some things we can take out a little bit from it. But that's where it gets a little bit hard to quite do it just when it's not your necessarily motivation to be that way naturally, Yeah, Megan's awesome. Megan's awesome. We love you, Meg. Let's go. Yeah, Megan's been putting in the work out here, D-boy, that's for sure. We've had a good amount of troll action the last couple of weeks. She's hanging strong. Puka's right. Hey, Brandon, so the only issue you have left is K9 winning MVP and getting a higher price tag. Are you counting your latte before it's poured, Seattle? Boy, Ram fans are weird. I'm trying to have a good discussion with you guys, but like, what are we doing? I can only guess that you're just trying to troll, so I'll let you troll away. But like, I'd love to have conversations with you Ram fans. All I'm seeing is complaining that people aren't giving you guys enough of your props for where you are, and that every Seahawks content creator's predicting. And okay. I don't know where you want me to go with that, Ruiz, but all right, man. No, I don't think I'm counting my latte before it's poured. I don't think I've ever said K9's winning the MVP. Freaking weird notes from you guys. I don't know if it's a lack of you guys. It's just, this is the lack of maybe confidence you have with this coming out this way. Because if I'm confident about my team winning, I'm going to explain in detail exactly how that win comes out against the other team. And that's just a lot of this stuff. Like, okay. Yeah, we're not going long today, especially as it's just Space. Thank you for the $5 donation. Brandon, how many touches do you think Hololani will get? Well, thanks for the donation, man. I think he's probably going to get, I don't think he gets a lot. I think you just lean on Walker. You trust in Walker with the next 2 games. You have a bye week if you win this game to let him rest up. So you're not worried about as much the pounding of him having too many touches. If it was week 7, if it was week 12, maybe you're starting to think a little bit about that, but probably like 5 touches in the game. And you end up with Walker with like 25-ish touches, something like that. I don't think they'll use him a lot. I think they'll be heavy Walker, especially Walker coming off that performance last week. Debo Brando, what up, brother? How you doing, man? Do you think that Denver or the Pats have a chance against the winner of the Seattle versus LA? No. I think that both of those 2 teams are going to get dog walked, or at least it'll be a comfortable win by either Seattle Seahawks or the Los Angeles Rams if they do go to the Super Bowl. And the reason with this is with Denver, Jared Stidham. And losing Nix is a huge loss. And with both the Pats and the Denver, quite frankly, I think that they both have kind of gotten by this year, and the records they've gotten to where it's not that they haven't earned it, but that there's definitely some things within them that you can kind of pick apart. I think with Denver, it's a lot of close wins at the end of games, and losing out on a guy like Nix that was helping bring you back in those games, using his legs at the end of games. That's a pretty big loss. I don't think that you just bounce back off that. And with the Pats, they had for, good part of this year, they were playing like the 6th easiest schedule in NFL history. And so they haven't exactly had to go through a gauntlet to get where they have. Whereas when you look at Seattle and LA, I think that there's much more of a gauntlet that's had to be walked to get where they've gotten. And so I would just ultimately have more confidence in either of those 2. 604 Lobos, Hawks Nest. Which American city would you most like to live in, expenses aside? Ooh, I'm kind of where I'm kind of in the spot. I mean, I love living in Seattle, but I do love living. I'm down in San Diego right now, and the weather and the beaches and the amount of stuff that there is to do and all that. I mean, it's hard to beat it. Hard to beat the weather. All the years living in the Pacific Northwest with those cold days and mist and the rain and the wet and being able to be in a nice, just dry place where it's just warm all the time is kind of nice. But I love Seattle too. So it's neck and neck out there. As much as maybe the weather, as much as anything else. Yep, Ruiz. And there's no hate for me either to you guys on it. It has been just a little weird on, trying to have some of the discussion with Rams fans, and I get the trolling aspect of that, but some of it too is just like, there's a feeling from seemingly Ram commenters on my board about somehow disrespect from people. And it's like, I feel like all throughout this week, I've been pretty respectful in talking about this Rams team. All throughout this year, I've been pretty respectful about talking about this Rams team. So I understand that there might be other content creators out there that aren't in the same mode, but criticize me for what I'm actually doing, not what I'm not doing, But I appreciate you, man. Appreciate the discussion. Jordan, thanks for the $5 donation, Jordan. I think this will be a coming out party for our offensive line. The Rams are overly confident in their D-line to step up. I think it'll be shocking effort. Ooh, I like that. Well, they're rolling well right now. That is for sure, this defensive line. And you've got the full totality of your health. You got your 4 edges. You got 3-4 inside defensive tackles you can rotate through. You can keep them fresh. And I could certainly see it be a game where things just keep coming together for this offensive line. In addition to it, where they've just gotten better and better and better. And some of this is Walker getting more comfortable in the scheme, and some of it is those details that have come to be in recent weeks. And this falls in line with Mike McDonald and what he told us about the running game. Where it's like early on in the year, we're not, you guys are staying committed to it, but we're not having as much success with it. What's going on? He's like, it's most of the time on these plays, it's just like everything's being done all the way down the line. And it's like one guy with one detail is kind of messing it up. And once you could kind of clean up that final guy with the last detail to get that last block in the right spot where he's supposed to be, now it all is humming and looking right. So I think that Mike said it. I think what we've seen from the way the rushing attacks come forward in the back half of the schedule has lended well to what he said, where he wasn't just giving us lip service, but this was actually a big part of what was impacting the run game, was just that you weren't getting those last details in there. And this also adds up to the type of run system you're running here with this outside zone scheme, which is not one that you necessarily get instantaneously. You're not just going through the training camp and being like, all right, we mastered it. You need the live action. You need the reps upon reps upon reps as far as training tape goes to really then refine that down with those players as far as what you're asking for them in this particular scheme. So I could see it, man, for sure, Jordan. And I do think that this line and how we run block and how we run in particular is going to be a big factor in this game. Even more so beyond that first matchup we played them, because we didn't stay as committed to it in the first matchup. We certainly did in the second matchup and found some headway. So well said on your part, especially understanding too, the Rams want to stay in more of that cover 2 shell. They don't want to bring that safety down into the box. And that should open up more of a door for you to be able to run the ball. I don't know I don't know what am I saying then? what is it I've said that's been Ram fans a little touchy. Brian says the Hawk says people treat this channel like a Hawk booster club. That's not what it is. This is 24/7 analysis from someone who knows ball and happens to be a fantastic presenter. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And that's maybe where Ram fans not understanding on this. I didn't create this channel to wave pom-poms. If I say something that's about my team that I believe, it's something that I've looked at a lot of the tape and I've turned through the tape and I've come to arrive at that conclusion. Doesn't mean I'm 100% right on everything, but I'm not basing my thoughts on merely, I love my team great, my team perfect, my team wonderful. Anybody that's watched this channel for years would know that I was right there at the front of everybody else when the time was to come to move on from Russell Wilson. I was right there at the very front of everybody else when it came to the time to move on from Coach Carroll. I was right there at the very front of everybody else this offseason when it came to moving DK and Geno. If I'm waving pom-poms here, if that's my intention, is to simply be a booster for the Seahawks, I wouldn't be taking those tones. It'd much easier just to take the path of being a Lombardi guy for the Seahawks, right? Just everything's great, everything's wonderful, my team's the best. Rah, 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 rah. But that's not what we do here. And I think from Ram fans, maybe you're confused on this versus other channels you guys see out there, but that's not how I operate. It's not how I operate on the round table. I've got reason to be confident in my team. Ram fans have reason to feel confident in their team. But when the times are rough, you don't have confidence, you're not going to see me drum it up either. Yeah, I was seeing resting skeptic face. A lot of Rams fans were bringing up the Hill clip on. I was noticing it on Twitter, and there's a lot of Ram fans going, "I'm keeping this receipt. I'm keeping that receipt." Well, feel free with them. that's them talking like that. I ain't talking like that, right? But yeah, I think that's where a lot of this is kind of starting to come from. Randall, thank you for the $2 donation. Avoid engaging morons. I'll say it. No, I agree, man. It's why I give people a chance with it, where I'm like, I don't think you meant that way. Let's have a little discussion. And then if you keep it up, then it's like, all right, then we just don't talk. So I don't know if that's you getting a win if you're a troll on that at that point, and that's ultimately a win for you to do it that way. But like, we'll just keep rolling along here. It ain't going to knock us off our path. But yeah, Randall, I agree. A lot of times with folks like this, they sometimes come in thinking this is the lay of the land, and that's what they're used to encountering. And sometimes we can turn them around a little bit to understanding that isn't the lay of the land here. Yeah, it's other places it ain't here. You know, here we're going to do it and operate with a little bit of a different modality. Yeah, much respect, Alberto. You know what time it is in here. Chances not a single Seahawks fan thinks it's going to be a blowout. These guys are just reaching for whatever to try and make you as unhappy as they are. I went to the store today. Everyone had their Hawks hat on. I kind of feel like that's what it is. And I do feel like there's a little bit of this when I'm not seeing points brought up and that they're just kind of in the feelings on it. That maybe you guys are, there's a little bit of like an extension of lack of confidence or something, you know? Jordan says, "Oh no, we have confidence in our team." Legit crybabies. Yeah, I don't get it. God, they take our confidence in our team as some knock on there. Like we're supposed to be like bowing down to the greatness of Stafford and the Rams or something. I don't think so. Randall, thank you for the $2 edition. Missed first part. Let me hear your road to victory. Well, this was just as much about going through Randall and touching on just the items that I think that we've got to do in this game for handcuffing up the Rams offense and doing as much as we can to do that. Concentrate on the inside runs. They run at the 32nd rate to the outside. You know, you've got, let me put this off here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Attack Stafford on play action. So you're going to have an edge rusher oftentimes freed up. Get him on top of Stafford. Don't allow him that opportunity to turn off of the play action and find the open man. Have a hand in his face. Get up in there, be on guard for Stafford's quick snaps. A lot of times he comes to the line of scrimmage. They just snap it as soon as the center gets his hand on the ball. There's not even a hike. Have some things built in as a way to sort of counter some of that, specifically some off-guard blitzes, you know, some shock-style blitzes. Include some fake blitzes in there, interdispersed a little bit. You know, try to trick some things up there on that just a little bit as you can. But specifically on when they run that up-tempo, specifically when they run those kind of quick snaps, have a little bit of some shock blitzes drawn up as a way to kind of counter them on that. Tackle on reception. You give up a completion, have a guy there in space to tackle. Tackling is going to be huge in this game, especially to limit down the yardage after the catch and hopefully get the Rams into third and longs. Man press looks that also then get aided by man coverage on the backside. Not that you run it 24/7, but you run more of this stuff than you've run in maybe the last couple of matchups, and especially the last matchup in particular. Then you've got careful on Stafford's eye manipulation. He tends to be a guy that's going to go to his first read in the first half, and then he'll go to multiple reads in the second half. Build that within your thinking a little bit. Don't let him manipulate you with the eyes, his no-look passes and all that. Don't let him get away with doing that type of stuff. He's very, very good at it. You got to deal with the tight end screens, have a plan of attack for dealing with the tight end screens. I don't even have a really great suggestion of what Mike should do with this, but just be aware of it and have a bit of a counter if you can in place for how to deal with it. We've got hands in passing lanes. Rams like to utilize the short passing attack. Randall, get those hands up, knock down those balls when you can't get home from a pass rush standpoint. And then a plan for Puka. 20 receptions, 300 yards in 2 games this year. We need to have a better plan of attack. We need to find a way to, we're not going to take him out of their game. We're not going to remove him. We're not going to take all that out. But what can you do to limit him a little bit more than you've limited him this year, Randall? Those would be my main offensive keys for shutting him down there. Falk, the Whiners, thank you for the $2 donation. Not all of us are weird. I'm just here chilling. No, I think we've got a lot of, and look, there's a lot of Niner fans and Ram fans that come through, and certainly through the year, I think just because we're facing him this matchup, it's become a little bit more, heated, I guess, but it's why I say I like having outsiders in, and this is why I don't just ignore Ram fans or 49er fans in here with it, because I like having these folks in here most of the time. When it's not in the I'm here to troll or I'm here to up in the chat energy vibe thing, but actually I'd like to have some back and forth between other Hawk fans and get a better understanding of your team, and maybe you can get a better understanding from my team. That's often what it leads to, in my opinion. That's why I want to keep it more open on that side of it. But it does become a challenge on it if there's people that just want to, in succession, bring that other side of that energy up. It just doesn't allow it to come to be. And I think that anything at that point, we're costing all of ourselves, short-circuiting a conversation that could be a lot more funner than my team's better than yours and you don't respect us enough. And you guys are disrespectful and you don't respect. Like, come on, let's talk about the game, man. Let's break down the game. That conversation has nowhere to go, quite literally. But I appreciate you, Falk. Thank you for the dono, man. And again, Niner, Rams, Cardinal fan, anybody's welcome in here. Just opens up the discussion that much more. Wu-Tang, thank you for the $5 donation. Wu-Tang. Got a couple racks of lamb I'm going to crust with herbs and roast for the crew on game day. We ain't worried. Let's go, Wu-Tang. Let's go. Love it, man. There'll be a lot of Hawk fans eating lamb, I think, this Sunday. A lot of lamb. The most lamb that's been eaten in the Pacific Northwest in 150 years. That is the gamer. Thank you for the double dip dono of $2. Appreciate you for that. Says, troll or not, these Rams aren't ready for us. I don't think they are either, man. Let's go. Let's go. Love the confidence. He says, this Hawks team will be hungry on Sunday. Trust. Trust is a great word to put. And it's not easily necessarily earned for me on teams. I think that you hear a lot from teams that give you a lot of the PR answers on stuff and a lot of what you want to hear as a fan from them. And then you have players and teams that walk it like they talk it, that there is a sense of confidence that they have earned, that they have built up over time. It's even since this offseason, it started last year, but it really, I think, kicked into high gear this offseason when a lot of the leaders on this team realized what they could potentially do if they could lock this thing in, if they could get the youngsters on board. And that's what's built this trust up, is that I think you've hard earned this confidence. It's not just you've gone on a run and gotten hot, but that you've made this happen. And you made it happen by being smart in your decision-making, smart in how you coach these guys up, smart in your development, smart in how your leaders have come forward and really taken ownership of this team. I've often said that a championship team, it's the last step. It's the final step. You got the getting the great coaching. You got the getting the quarterbacks. You got the getting the great difference-making talent. You got the depth that you need to be bringing about on your team, right? You got to get all these other things first. And then, kind of that last final step that comes into play is that you have the players from within the locker room who don't look to merely the coaches for all of the leadership, but that they take on the leadership, that they become almost like coaches on the field, and not just one here and one over there, but that you have an assembly of them. I have a Julian Love. I have a Leonard Williams. I got an Uchenna Nwosu. I got an Ernest Jones. I got a Cooper Kupp. I got an assembly of these guys all over the place, and they're all in succession saying a lot of the same thing to these youngsters. How could you not fall in line? So they've earned that trust, man. They have at us. Well said on your part. Sean McLeodard, thank you for the $5 donation. Sean. Brando, I love Jake's rant on the roundtable about how you don't remember the hard time, but then he claims the greatest show on turf when he was 4. Ha. Yeah, I mean, he goes through the hard time like they went through this incredibly horrible dark age. And it's like, okay, so you had a 7-year period where you had to kind of muddle through there, that you weren't particularly good. You know, that's every franchise. But the Rams in his lifetime have been able to have a pretty good amount of success. So I don't know if I can, you know, he don't know about the 90s dark age of the Seahawks, Sean, right? He don't know about having a defensive player of the year on a team that went 2-14 and had no offense. He wants to see dark times. He don't know about blackouts in Seattle in the late 90s. I'll show him. He don't know about playing in Husky Stadium in the late 90s. I can show you some dark times, Jake. I can show you some dark times. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I was laughing a little bit at that too, where it's like, from 12 to 15, man, that was a real dark time, dude. Okay? That 3-year period, man, that almost ended me. It almost put me under. Lord Disciple, message in the chat B. Well, thank you for the $2 donation. I will be on the lookout for it. Appreciate your kindness as ever, man. Thank you. Lovely One, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, maybe it's time. Byron Murphy at fullback. Hey, who's turning down a fullback dive to Byron Murphy at the 1-yard line, huh? Or the 2-yard line? I'd love to see Byron Murphy come out there and do that, man. You know he'd love it too. How about we bring him out in fullback and we run a little bit of that play action we did with the Niners a couple of weeks ago where Charbonnet was free out in the flat and we just have Murphy leak out to the flat, slow B1, and then toss it out there in the flat and let him make the catch for touchdown. Boy, how that would energize the defense, huh? I love it. Let's go, Slobey. Bear with me 1 sec, folks. Be right back. Thank you, Slobby. Appreciate you. Roy says, all good, Brandon. You're intending to watch and keep doing your thing, my guy. All in good due time. Sounds good, brother. Appreciate you. It's a rivalry game. What do you expect? I'd expect fully trolls to come through Mile High, but I mean, and frankly, a little bit on this is like a little bit like trying to have the discussion with you. It's like, it doesn't aid anything, man. People come in and like what we're trying to do here is it's not about me. It's really not about me. I might be pushing a little bit of discussion of where the talking points will lie within the community, but it's our chat and our community that makes this place what it is. So as you as a troll, I know it's a lot of fun for people to come being trolls and just, I kind of don't understand just the thinking in it anyway, like what it accomplishes for you. But like all it does is just throw the discussion off the tracks. So it's against it, inherently the mission sort of statement of what I'd like to do with this channel, which is that I understand it's fun for everybody to act like 5-year-olds. And what hasn't helped this has been, of course, the ESPN model with a bunch of dudes that just scream back and forth at each other and don't actually really bring up points. And I think that that's aided into this toxicity that you see online at times from these people that come out in these chats. But I don't think that it accomplishes anything. At the end of the day, you can feel good for making somebody else feel bad, but that's not the point of this channel. And that is the point of what a lot of trolls really want to accomplish at the end of the day. I want to make you feel bad, and then I'm going to get satisfaction in that. And so I've been able to have a lot of people that will start out in this way because they understand that's just the standard issue that they operate in these other chats. And then they come in here Mile High and they understand, oh, wait, you guys aren't like that. That's not the role that you're trying to do. And they can realize the rest of my chat doesn't act that way. And so it's one where I've been able to move people around in a way and get them around to understanding what we're trying to do. And I'm very hopeful I'm able to do that. I'm not a banhammer guy. I think that shuts down discussion. It's like censorship in a lot of ways. But it's also then reliant on people like yourself, Mile High, coming in and actually then showing that respect that we give to you. You get the respect, you get back the respect, and it can be that way. Again, I come into a chat and I just go, I'm the best. My team's the best. We're just awesome. You suck. Sea chickens. What is that accomplished? What has that done to push any of the discussion forward whatsoever? Nothing. So yeah, I'm going to push down on it, and I won't stop it. And if I can't stop with a particular person that's going to keep going down the line, then they can get banned eventually from the channel. But I'm going to try to fight against doing that, because I think I can bring people back around to this side of it. Because I think at the end of the day, football fans love talking football more than they like being toxic. And that's always what I will try to kind of drive for within this channel. Yeah, we're not doing Mile High. Again, we're not going back down the road again on this Mile High with it. You know what I mean, man? We're going to have good discussion in my chat. That's what I ask of you. I ask respect, and that's the only thing I ask. I have a lot of rules in here. Respect is one of my rules. If you can't bring that, then you'll be out of here. That's as quickly as I can. DJ, Ram fans have a reason to feel confident, but reading a lot of their comments, a lot of them actually think Seahawks are a bad team. Do they even know football? I mean, I don't know. It's one where you'd like this matchup to come in, and where it's rather than it's about deriding the other team you're playing against. And it's part of why I wanted to show the DVOA thing. The last two shows that I've shown it is kind of a representation of how cool it is that you get these two good of a teams that get to match up against each other. And again, how rare that is in NFL history. This good of two teams get to fight up against each other. Be it in the Super Bowl, be it in the regular season, it's a rarity, and that's what we really, more than trying to go at each other's throats on this. Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate this NFC West. Let's celebrate this season, which has been fun for both of our two teams and has been a bit of a magical ride for both of our teams. You know, it's something I do consider a big deal, Mile High, and hopefully you can understand me trying to relock you in on understanding this. It's a big deal that the chat can be how it is. Because when somebody comes in and upends the chat and they just decide to be trolled, then it takes away the discussion, right? You're ruining everybody else who's trying to have a good time. It's all at their expense for the satisfaction of the one. That becomes a bit of a big deal then, especially when the whole point of the channel is to have open discussion in here and have some talk and be able to, bat around different items. Well, Green Brando, was Mike watching the Rams Bears game for pointers on who we're going to match with? Yeah. I think he was doing it kind of I think he was sitting there kind of like, hey, what call would I make the next time after this down and distance? And then seeing how that call would have done versus the alignment he got out from the Rams a little bit. Yeah, it wasn't a good discussion yesterday, Mile High. You had the chat all up in a from, and you did just what I was saying that I don't want to see in here, which is you upend the chat, and we don't want to do that. So it's not a good day when that happens. But I've gotten it across at this point. I'm glad. I appreciate that. Like I said, maybe you'll be a proof of what I'm talking about, that there's people I can turn around on this and understand where they're ground at. They understand what we're trying to do here. So, we're kind of at that point in the week. I've dealt with a lot of this stuff. I've been very patient with it. I've understood this is a part of what we're going to get with Rivalry Week, but we're to Friday now. We're to that spot now where definitely the patience on this is starting to wear just a tiny bit thin, where it's like, okay, well, let's be that way then. Let's have good discussion. And if we end up facing your Broncos a week from now, hopefully you can come in here and let's talk about the points of how your Broncos beat my Seahawks, or how my Seahawks beat your Broncos, rather than it being about how we can upend a chat or how we can throw people off and get them into that stage, San Paul, Indian, says, leading up to a game, I praise all opponents, even the Cardinals. In the end, none of us actually know. Agreed. I think that especially when it's a well-run organization, you most especially feel okay about praising them because they've done some smart things. And yeah, any given Sunday, anything can happen. Even against the best team in the league, against the worst team in the league. We've seen the NFL, anything can happen. And when you're in the playoffs like this with a one-off, anything can most especially happen. A couple bad bounces in the wrong direction with the ball, and you're losing it, and that's kind of the brutal nature of football a little bit in that way. Ornacity, so let me get this straight. Charles didn't practice, but he's good to go for game day? Yes. I understand the worry and concern here fully, 100%. But yes, on that. I think he'll be. I think it's fine. I think they're just being very careful. Or Nancy, they know they don't have Josh Jones to go to, so they're making sure they've got their 2 tackles good to go because they don't want to probably get into a place where they've got to go with that third guy. And you certainly wouldn't want to cross to get it injured in practice, or Kite injured in practice, because you're just trying to have them get. You want to have both these guys available, readily available for that game, and you're going to play it a little careful. Haggard AB, is Ernest Jones the only Mike relays the defensive plays? Yes. You're only allowed one green dot helmet guy, not multiples. Mr. Isaac, yeah, the Broncos legit have every reason to hate Seattle. We destroyed them in the Super Bowl and robbed them in the Wilson trade. I'd be mad too. Laugh out loud. Probably so. Sam Pola, 1992, was the finest defense the Hawks ever fielded. Third-ranked defense with an offense that had more punts than points for most of the season. Yeah, it was a tough year. Partly because how great the defense was. And Cortez, but boy, yeah, that just offense couldn't drum up nothing. Damn, Richard, I didn't remember any of this. You don't know Richard GM being indicted and convicted for premeditated murder? Ken Baring, buddy, had no football experience, then dies murder for hire thing. I remember. Geez, I didn't remember that. Woo! And if you can put in there, Lord Disciple, I haven't been able to see your note in here. I've been looking for the your note on that from the dono that you put in, but I'm not quite seeing it. So if you get a chance, maybe repost it back in. I can't see. Jordan Hibby, did you see the Zabel interview with Kay Adams? Definitely a good watch and get you hyped for the future of this team. I saw it on my feed. I didn't get a chance to get to see it quite yet, but I'm going to check it out for sure. I think he called Sam a straight. I saw they had like quoting him as Sam was a straight killer or something on that one, you know. Jordan, thank you for the $10 donation. He says, I got into an argument about the CJ Stroud non-safety against us. People don't understand the progress is only called if the player isn't going backwards on his own. That was a safety. Looked like a safety to me too. Was the places you get in the rule book where it's such an unusual kind of play in the style and the way that it goes. I think I saw another play later on this year. I can't remember which game, Jordan, you might remember. There was another game this year where a similar play happened and the quarterback got called for the safety. So it is one where I think that play happens in a few different games in a few different ways, and you probably have a call go a couple different directions with that particular one. So it did look like that to me. Definitely was going backwards kind of. I don't know. It's, going backwards kind of seemed like optionally there, but I'd probably be with you on that. Felt like in the moment it was a safety. It's a place where these rules sometimes are so complicated and to so many little this item, but if this, but that, but this, where you just end up kind of jumping from one foot to the next depends on the ref rating. Cool. You're good, Mile High. Look, you're welcome in here. And yesterday was not the funnest of day watching and reading my chat with you in there on some of the stuff that was going down. And so it's just, again, that this isn't me attempting to try to deride you. It's me of just trying to attempt to say, look, just keep this in mind of what we're trying to do here. And keep in mind of that if you come in with a certain brand of, I'm going to operate like this, and it's with you come in with a dickish tendency, you can then wonder why people are like, why are you acting like a dick in here? Nobody's trying to do that to you. It's as simple as that. Comes down to an old axiom: do the right thing. Come in and I'm just acting like an ale. Is that the right thing? No. Okay, do the right thing, and we'll embrace you here. Bronco fan, Ram fan, Niner fan. Come in here and you're right and you're respectful, you're going to get nothing but respect right back for you. You're going to hear a lot of lauding of your team. You'll get a lot of that. But we'll also match the same energy if you walk in here with on the other end of the scale, which we don't want to match that energy. I'd much rather have the in-depth discussion with you. Let's talk about your Broncos. Let's talk about what they do defensively. Let's talk about early rundowns, run blitzes that then become actual blitzes and how they've been able to stop up the running game. Let's talk about how they're willing to risk on the back end and man coverage concepts with your secondary and your great guys and what they can do in coverage on the back end. Let's talk about that. That's the good stuff. That's where the meat's at. That's where the flavor arrives. All this troll stuff, all that, there ain't nothing in that. That's all just empty. The talk of treasure. Thank you. He says, hey, Hawks Nest, my original prediction for this year was 11-6, and I have been extremely unexpected for this year, but also thought it could happen. So how can we stop Stafford? Well, I definitely would have you go through, because I just reran through him a second time here for Randall on that. If you can, go through at the top of the show, because I go beat by beat through the first 45 minutes in attacking the basically 11 items that I think are the most important when it comes to addressing the Rams offense. And it's, leaning towards the inside running game when they're not going to run outside as often. It's playing more man-based coverage concepts. It's more man press stuff. It's having some shock blitzes put into place when Stafford walks up the line of scrimmage and tries to quick snap it or tries to run up tempo. It's having a plan of attack to deal with the screen game and the tight ends. It's getting hands up in passing lanes on the short passing attack when you can recognize that. It's attacking the quarterback on play action. You're always going to get an edge rusher most of the time with this Rams scheme that's going to be freed up. And they're counting on that edge rusher in play action to drive after the running back, to not go after the quarterback, attack the quarterback. Seahawks have done a great job of this in the first two matchups. So I think it's kind of like you do all those sort of interlaced a little bit, and I think you're going to have a much better chance for success this upcoming Sunday. Don't think you stop them in full, but you keep things a little bit more contained, I think, from that offensive perspective. I appreciate that, Mahai. I do. What's up, Steven? Good to see you. Strategy. So one of the points I'm really excited about is how we adjust our run game without Charbonnet. Indeed. How much Olani works in, and maybe you're a little even more into the outside zone scheme of things here, more than going inside. Slowly one. Thank you for the $2 donation. It says, looks like Mike LaFleur might come to fruition with the Raiders. I feel like if he goes to the Raiders, then that definitely probably closes the door for Kubiak to move on this season if LaFleur's going there. Because it does feel like that seems like, I have just a kind of a gut feeling on this, but it just kind of seems like in general terms that sort of seems to be the shoe to drop. And if not that, it's hard to see Kubiak going to go to some of the other places that are out there. I mean, maybe an outside chance at a Buffalo team, maybe. But part of this has also been the wonder about how good Kubiak would interview in person when you actually got him in person versus some of these other guys that might be a little bit more dynamic personalities. But interesting. Okay. Black Thought, Brown Dreams, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, I want redemption, New England. Bet the best, beat the best to be the best. And there we go. I like it. Well, undoubtedly, you get New England, you're getting the best the AFC has to offer this year at that point. They took down Texans. They took down the Chargers. Might have had their chance to be that. And, Bills weren't ready to go this year. So I get that. That'd be fun. And I've called it a storybook season, the best season in Seahawks history, partly just how it's played out. These opponents having to have 2 trilogies within this division in the playoffs for the right to then go to the Super Bowl. How crazy that is. And then to go take on the opponent that beat you 10 years ago in one of the more, I'm going to say it's not a celebrated play, but in the one more, known plays in NFL history on that 1 yard throw. Jordan, thank you for the $5 donation. It says Cross has no game day designation. Jones is questionable. Kite is doubtful. Oots is questionable. So I think, they just want to get to where they've got the 2 tackles ready to go. And I understand with how they've played this out on the injury report thing of it, that's made people really nervous, and the lack of the guys practicing has made people nervous. I think that as Mike has talked about this, he seems to be very confident Cross is going to play. And I think that there's just let's be careful with this situation. The thing you don't want to have happen, Jordan, is you have a guy that's a little bit banged up. You put him out on the practice field, and then he gets more injured because you're trying to force him to practice through the injury. If he's going to get more injured, you want it to happen in a game. And so probably they're just, when it comes down to making the measure on this of rest or not, is it more important to have him play out there on that or not? How much will the rest help out the this or that he's dealing with? I think that this is where we do have a lot of reason to trust in the coaching staff and the approach they're going to take with this. And I don't think that we're ending out at a spot where we're going to be down 3 tackles in this upcoming game and we're trying to rock Jalen Sundell or something out there at left tackle or something. It's a possibility if things go really wrong, but I think that this is what they're doing to try to kind of avoid that and set the stage up for everything to be okay with that. Matthew, thank you for the $10 donation. Matthew, very kind of you. Stafford played nearly perfect week 16. 3 turnovers, swung 17 points to the Rams Seattle, still won week 11, took 4 interceptions and a miracle punt, and still Seattle had a game-winning field goal chance. Maybe biased on my point of view? No, I think that there's an outlook there that adds up and that does track. And I think that you lost the turnover battle twice to this team in this year. And like you say, you almost beat him in that first game and then you beat him in the second game. And that's partly to speak to how strong a team you're having. And the other thing with this is it's not just a Rams thing that this has happened in. We've had multiple games this year that we've lost the turnover battle and we throttled those teams that won the turnover battle on that day. When you have that many indicators through the years of those kind of games that you're able to win, where most teams, that they lose the turnover battle 3-0. Like we had a game we lost the turnover battle, a couple games this year that we lost 3-0 on the turnover battle, and yet we still handily won the games. And that's just points back to how strong the total team is in what they do. And I think Stafford played an amazing game in that Thursday night game. I don't think that he's going to necessarily replicate that kind of performance because it was just really good on what he was doing. He's also been a guy that, look, the offense outside of that game that they had against us through the back half of their schedule has not been playing as well. Outside of that, us in that game, Stafford in the back half of the schedule is what got the highest turnover-worthy plays in the NFL since week 12 from the quarterback position. And so that's where this is kind of tracked recently. And I think that we're going to put a much better performance out there. I think that we don't turn the ball over, we win this game. I also think that, especially considering those first 2 matchups and what happened with the 6 turnovers collectively he had in those first 2 matchups and how they swung the game in those ways. So I don't think it's biased. I think there's a lot of reason to feel confident here if you're a Seahawks fan. And it's not just we're better, we're this. It's that you can individually go point by point through on the advantages you have walking into this game versus the Rams. And that those little advantages add up to being just enough to push you past the finish line, past the Rams, and what probably will be a close game. No, I think it's well-suited confidence, Matthew. Brando, thank you for the $5 donation. Brando, your thoughts on the controversial interception in the Bills at Broncos game? Well, it's like I say every week on this when it comes up to, like this was a couple weeks ago on the Ernest Jones interception that they overruled on the field there. I don't still, and I'm not saying this to be trite or to be, an a-hole about it. Like, I don't know what a catch is anymore, Garth. I really don't. And there was one angle that they showed in particular that they did not show on the telecast that I saw this week of that catch, where it does look like he gets down and he's got his 2 feet down and you've got the best case scenario, a simultaneous catch situation going down. And that then goes to the offense, as I understand it. But I'll just admit to this, and if we get into a situation in this game where it happens again and people are like, that's definitely a catch, that's not a catch, I'm just going to come back and it's not me trying to bail out on making a choice one way or the other. It's just to say, like, look, I feel like the NFL has a bit of a sliding scale referee staff by referee staff on what it is that they individually by that staff are going to decide is a catch, or what New York's going to decide on this replay this week is going to be a catch and not a catch. I don't see consistency. It's one that seems to kind of move all over the place a little bit. And that play is kind of a representation of that. It looked like a catch, looked like his knee was down, looked like they both had their hands on the ball. When his knee was down, that simultaneous catch, that's supposed to go to the offensive player. So I can understand, I guess, to a degree on this, that it was the call in the field, and that when you go back and you replay it, maybe you think it's so close that there's not enough of the, it's got to be clear and incontrovertible, right, Garth? That's the whole thing about the replay booth. It's supposed to be like a jury of 12 peers where everybody's got to vote for, yeah, he murdered, or no, he didn't, right? Or you get a hung jury kind of situation. So the NFL is supposed to be a little bit like that with the replays too, where what was the call in the field? The call in the field was interception, and maybe they just thought we'll lean to that. But I come back to the bottom line point of this being is I truly still don't know what is and what isn't a catch. Because I think I know what the rules are, and then it happens in a game, and then they're like, no, that's, but this, I can have a player stick a football into the ground as he's making a catch, and that somehow is a catch, right? But then a guy who has his hands underneath a ball, and the ball never touches the ground, but because a ball moves while it's in his hand, then that's not a catch. I don't get it. I just don't get it, Garth, myself. Still dreaming. Thank you for the $2 donation. Why is Olu not even an option at left tackle? Athleticism, lateral agility. Jalen Sundell is between your two centers, he's the physical, freakish guy. And Olu is the guy that's, kind of the overachiever a little bit with what he's got, from physical limitation standpoint. He's not the most mobile guy. He's not the most athletic guy. This is why in Olu Atimi, he dropped down to the 5th round. Is a guy that put up a lot of great tape with Michigan, but the testing numbers weren't there and weren't particularly good. And if you put him out at left tackle, he would be a fish out of water out there. I don't know if Sundell would necessarily be great out there either. But he does have a history of playing left tackle, another thing Olu doesn't have. And he does have the athleticism out there to maybe at least kind of hold up there relatively well, especially if you're giving him a chip block or whatnot. But Olu would be in and over his head over on that side of it, unfortunately. Mark Sanchez, thank you for the $20 donation, Mark. You are the man. I appreciate you for that. Very kind of you, brother. B, last year I got in an argument with my cuz, who is a Hawks fan, about why moving on from Pete was necessary. He believes Pete would have this team undefeated and believes Pete got a bad rap in Vegas. Some people. Well, I mean, look, we have a guy in our chat that would come along in our chat throughout the whole offseason, Mark, and his name's Roland Connor. And Roland Connor would come in every single week this offseason, and he would come in and he'd say, you're gonna learn with Pete in the Raiders why this was ageism, why Seattle they got rid of him. That was ageism, is what he would say over and over again. I mean, every chat he'd come in almost throughout the whole summer. They're going to learn by regular season why you moved on from Pete because of the ageism thing. I haven't heard as many people, to your cousin's point, he's kind of one of the last people up on this little, floating on this little ice shelf. It's ever melting and it's ever getting thin, and there's not many that are still standing on top of that. Because, I think that nobody walks into the Raiders situation and finds success. I think that that's an organization that's turned totally sideways, and they've made so many bad decisions through the years that it's going to take a long period of time for anybody to turn that thing around. And Pete wasn't going to get it done in the first year. With that said, Pete was a big pusher with the Raiders on trying to force feed this to get this done faster, right? He didn't want to move on from Crosby and get draft capital to start souping up that draft capital to better put a foundation down. He didn't want to move Crosby at the trade deadline even after. So they could have moved him prior to the year. They could have moved the trade deadline when they realized their season wasn't a good one or going in a good way. No, I can't do that. I can't let this guy go. The trade for Geno Smith, rather than kind of get by at the position for a while until you're ready. Don't be trading for a guy that you got to put on a big contract when the team's not ready, when you don't have the offensive line in place. You should have learned this lesson, Pete, by this point, that when you don't have the offensive line in place and you're trying to bring a quarterback in, whether it's drafting a young quarterback or whether it's signing and trading for a guy like Geno Smith, you're putting him behind a situation where he's going to be likely to fail because of the parameters at hand. Even on the Chip Kelly thing, didn't seem like that was his hire, but it was kind of forced on him, that he would have gone back to some of the old kind of Pete hires if he had his druthers about it. Pete had a long opportunity to reset the stack. He had multiple times over to reinvent his defense. He had multiple times over to understand that he needed to evolve his scheme, and he needed not just keep leaning on the old and hoping that it was once again going to work. And he didn't want to do that. And he didn't want to do that here, and he didn't want to do that with the Raiders. He wanted a lot of control here. I mean, a lot of the times what held us back through those years, as we can see in retrospect, certainly with how John's done when now he's not had somebody who's been able to overrule him on draft picks or on signings or on trades, that John's been so successful now not having that thing impelling him. This stuff all does come back to Pete with it. And I love Pete, and he deserves to be revered by this fan base forevermore. He brought us our only championship. I love that part of it. But all of that has nothing to do with the price right now of doing business with Pete and where he's at right now in his career. And unfortunately, I put up a clip this week where Leonard Williams was talking about it. Adapt or die. Adapt or die. This league is that way if you're a coach. You either modernize and you understand that the game is an ever-changing state and what won you yesterday is not what's going to win you tomorrow, or you try to stay stagnant and hope it's cylindrical and that it's going to come around like a broken clock to your time on the clock where the hands may lie. And when I've referenced back with Pete with Bill Belichick, for instance, Bill Belichick was cut from the very same cloth of Pete Carroll from an identity fashion walking into the Patriots. We're going to run the ball. We're going to limit the passing attempts. We're going to play great defense, and we're going to play great special teams. But what happened with Bill? Did he stay stagnant? Did he just hold the line and I'm going to be what I am? No, he grew with time. He was one of the great indoctrinators of the Chip Kelly scheme. He brought on the spread-based concepts, which were the complete opposite to the style of offense that he wanted to run prior. I'm going from typical defensive-minded coach that wants to run the ball and protect the ball to I'm now going to throw the ball a hyper amount because he recognized where the game was going. And I think if anything with Belichick, he kind of ran in the same thing Carroll did at the end where stopped really evolving, stopped really going forward thinking your approach, started to get a little bit more into that, looking for the guys that are going to be more of the yes men that you're bringing onto your staff, less of the guys challenging you from an idea standpoint. So, it's interesting to hear that there are still those people who would think of that like with Pete. You would not be in the position record-wise you are this year with Pete Carroll as your head coach. No how, no way. Maybe you win 9 games, but maybe you win even 10, but you're not winning 14, and you're probably not going into the playoffs. So his limitations were pretty bright at the end, pretty hard lined at the end, and they didn't go away with the Raiders. Doesn't mean the Raiders situation wasn't one that he was walking into that was crappy, but part of the reason that the only job opportunity he really had to go to be a head coach in the NFL anymore was the Raiders, spoke to the fact that the NFL thinks exactly like I'm thinking in regards to Pete. The proof is in the pudding. Pete's this smart of an offensive mind, or this smart of a head coach, this able at this point to still create that championship contender. Wouldn't there be teams lining up? And the fact that there isn't kind of speaks to them kind of recognizing some of this, I think, Mark. But thank you, man, for your $20 donation, and he'll come around eventually, man. He'll come around eventually. All agrees. I've been talking so much smack to my Niner fans, my dentures won't stay in. And Grenade says, B, just a hunch, but I think this game comes down to who can score more points at the end of the game. Again, just a guess. Maybe. Yeah, no, maybe. Quinn says, with that being said, how the F did Knight end up being more injured than Jones? I don't know, man. Cross actually practiced today. Well, that's encouraging. Cross is good to go. See, I told you guys. You're not going to be mad. It's very simple on this, Mile High. Respect. So if you're respectful in this chat on this, and I'm being true in that I want to bring people along in here that we can have discussions. And if you're honestly open-hearted on it, all you got to do is just have respect. If I go through and I go through message by message of these people in this chat right now, you're going to see that there's a respectful tone, or you're going to see there's a lack of disrespectful tone. And that's where I say this is basically the only rule that runs this place. And it's very easy to operate within. So if you're there, you'll be fine, man. And I appreciate you being open to being this way with it and not just hardlining down onto the troll side of it. I want you part of the community, man. That's what it comes down to on it. I want more people part of this community and not more subs, not more, people. I want part of the community. Because as I say with this, and I'm consistent on it, it's not me that makes this channel go. It's these folks right over here, they make this channel go. I'm just a guy here yapping away. These are the folks that make this happen. So I'm protective of them. I'm protective of that environment. I'm protective of that discussion being able to go loose and free and wild, not disrespectful though. Yeah, let's get into Mile High. Break down for me what you got to do to take down the Patriots with Stidham. Like, give me some of your important parts that you feel like are really going to be a factor in that game between you guys, or what you got to do with Stidham. I'm kind of interested to know, like, what's the approach? Is it short passing attack? Do we try to let him rip some balls down the field a little bit on this Vrabel defense? Orlando Bees, you're off to the Senior Bowl next week. What's that mean when it comes to the usual streams? No roundtable or B&B shows? No, we'll be doing them. I'll just be doing them remotely, and I'll have a crappier mic. I got to work on I got my remote mic I got to take with me. So it just means it's going to be a little bit less on the quality, but I'll be out there. We're doing an Airbnb out there, Orlando. It's got Wi-Fi, so should be able to run full on those two streams for roundtable and B&B. Should be good to go. We'll be doing some other streams, hopefully out of the Airbnb too. Well, Greasy Brando, my best friend's a Rams fan, and he came over for week 16 and left at halftime thinking they were going to win. Now he won't come over and watch the championship. What do I do? I don't know, man. I don't know. That was a tough loss, I suppose. Lord Disciple Brandon, Hawks Nest woke up this morning and turned on Good Morning Football Seahawks, got the clean sweep, even mentioned they would push back on it if they didn't fold to LA bias. I respected it. Oh, there we go. Get a little love out there. That's good to see. Jordan said the way the forward progress works, the player can't be voluntarily moving backwards. If he is, then it goes down by contact rule, which is when the player first hits the ground after contact. Makes sense? And he was definitely voluntarily going backwards, wasn't he? Yeah, let's talk about, like, what are you guys going to do this week, Mile High? I'd love to know on, your guys' approach. I don't even have a firm kind of feel on what Payton should do. I mean, obviously you want to run the ball a good amount, not to put too much on Stidham with it. But what are the methods you'd apply to, trying to go through that Patriots defense? I don't know, Mr. Isaac. I don't know. Quinn says the opportunities don't grow on trees, and Kubiak is really only as popular as he is because there's so few offensive talents out there. That's a little bit of the process, right? Is that there's just not as many grade A candidates out there in this hiring cycle, along with the fact freaking just about half the freaking league is turning over a new coach. What do I think of the Broncos? I think they're a really great team. I think they're fully capable. I mean, I'm going to have the Patriots winning, but I think that certainly the Broncos defense and the way that they play, and that defense especially, is more than enough. It's like our defense where it can carry the load. And it is a manufactured offense of the Broncos, I would say, throughout the year, being one that, hasn't necessarily lived on having to be hyper explosive. I think that you've got to find a way to give some easy throws to Jarrett Stidham, and you got to find a way, I would think, on the surface of this, of trying to protect him from a high volume passing approach. And that means really leaning into the ground game as much as humanly possible. But Vrabel is going to take that away too, and he's going to stack the box. And that's where you could come down to a little bit of it being, can the Broncos take some shots in the game with Stidham? Get some one-on-one coverages out there and take those opportunities there to go over and be able to maximize them, get a big play, get a quick touchdown. I think that would definitely be something that could help out Stidham big part too as well, for having him try to execute offenses long-handedly down the field time and time again. Andy, Brandon, what do you do for a living? You're always live streaming, laughing out loud. This is what I do for a living, bro. Full-time job, man. Full-time job. I was able to make the leap a couple of years ago, and I've got an absolutely incredible amount of support that I get from the Seahawks community as far as donations and support. So really, at my size of channel at just over 20,000, I shouldn't be able to do it full-time, just where I am kind of at the size-wise goes. But because of the support that we get here, a couple of years ago, Andy allowed me to really just do it full-time and go just full meal deal all the way with it. It's a great life, man. If I'm doing it full-time, I'm going to be on live as much as humanly possible at that point, especially this year with all the good stuff going on. Hell Sticky, a team on the identity of their quarterback in big moments, and there's nobody tougher than Matt Stafford. Plus, look at all the points and yards we put up on y'all, so I don't think we're too worried about it. Love the confidence, man. Love the confidence. Garth in the house. Always good to see Garth in the house, right, Mr. Isaac? Don't forget, El Sticky, you put up 130 yards passing in the first matchup at home. So definitely you can look at that second matchup and go, look at all those yards we got on that short week when they couldn't get their defense fully on boat. But then you have that first matchup where it's 130 yards. So, hard to say. No way. The Seattle Mariners are in agreement to acquire Fernando Tatis. No way. You got that's troll. That's so mean. It's being speculated. Hope you're doing well out there, Garth. Yeah, I don't know. It's gotten people really worried the left tackle situation, Seahawks. I don't know why either on that. It's been kind of odd from my perspective too. With that, there's no way they're going to walk in there with no starting left tackle is going to go. They're just being very protective, I think. But I get why it gets people nervous a little bit. And Grenade B, you said you had a Rams dude to go on later. Yeah, I'm heading on to a Rams channel here in a bit to do a collab for them. It won't be up on the channel here. I forget the name of it too. He just reached out to me this morning, so I'm just kind of, and I got to go in a couple minutes to pop over there to that. So it will be a little in and out today on that side. Brian, I'm mystified by this idea that all you have to do is disrespect teams and players. Somehow it'll speak a win in existence for their team. It makes no sense, and I understand it. I don't either. It does seem to be a bit of a thinking out there. If I just speak to that, then that'll be the reality. It's like, well, good luck with that. It's a lot funner for me if you actually break down the ins and outs on both teams on it, because then it's like, then that's where really you get the reality of it. If you can break it down that far. Randy, if you make sure we go live with Perna, I'd love to go live with Perna, man. He does great work. Noobs, the worst part is it got to the point where Pete Carroll couldn't get any decent OC or DC. Yeah, because they understood that he was going to have too much of an impact on that side of the ball, and you end up having a guy come in there who's going to determine and dictate to you what you do. But then when things go wrong, you're going to get all the blame for it. And if I'm going to be an OC or DC, I'm going to want to at least be the guy that can manage this to be the determiner. And if I fail, then it's on me. It's not going to be on somebody else, Brian said the Hawks Nest, remember we had a similar issue when Holmgren was here. He was his own GM for the first 4 years until Paul Allen told him to stick to head coach or be fired. That very next. Yeah, Paul did that very thing. Realized it was too much. It's not a good idea. I'm not in favor of it. I think a GM should GM. I think a coach should coach. I don't think that they should overlap. I don't think it's in the benefits of, there's been too many failures for it to think that it should work in that way. All right. We were going to do last couple donos here, and we're going to kind of have to do a wrap up here because we got to bounce over. John, thank you for the $2 donation. It says solo, B&B, roundtable, or syndicate show. Yeah, kick your butt. Yeah, we got a lot, man. We got a lot rolling right now. So, and it's certainly 6 months into the season. I'm certainly feeling it a little bit, but I love what I do, and I love what I get to do as far as for all different stuff. You know, working with different guys doing this. It's been a lot of fun this year. I feel like the channel's just really coming into bloom in that way, John, and more to come into the future, my man, for sure. Parks says Seahawks. Thank you, Parksa. Garth with another $5 donation. Appreciate you for that, Garth. Any chance we get on after dark jacuzzi stream with yourself, Bryce, and Dan in Mobile, Alabama? Well, maybe. I don't know if we got a hot tub or not out there. So we got to see if we actually got one. I don't think the one comes with the place, but if there's one that comes with the place for you, Garth, for you, we'll do a jacuzzi stream for you if we got a tub out there. I'd be down. So Obi-Wan, thank you for the $2 donation. Is our pass rush going to be a problem this week? You haven't been able to sack Stafford since 2023. So it remains to be seen, and would be my answer to you on that. Remains to be seen. I think it will be effective this week, but you can't blitz. You got to get it done with your front four. You did better in the second half of the second game at getting pressure with the front four when you stopped blitzing to that point. But again, since 2023, you've not been able to get a sack on him. They've done a very good job of being able to work around your ability to generate pressure and mitigate it. And the short passing attack's a big part of this. The screen game's a big part of this. But you got to find some answers this week. And I don't know how to do it necessarily other than just rush the passer better, so to speak, is really what you got to do here. So it's going to be one of the big keys in this game. Can you get pressure with the front four? Can you get semi-quick pressure with the front four so the Stafford doesn't get to sit back there for an hour and a half like you did in that second matchup and pick your zones apart? Big key in this game. All right. I want to thank, if I can, here the sponsor of the show. Sponsor is, of course, the Sleeper app. The Sleeper app is the number one app running the sports today. It's my favorite. Why? Because you got so many options that you can run through on this app, and you can go through a variety of different pickups. You got nice little boosts that you can put in here. When you use my code NEST, they'll match you up to 100% of your first deposit up to $100. When you use the code NEST, there's also a freebie 20, so just create a login. They'll put $20 in your account for just creating a login on the Sleeper app. You can see that these are my picks over here on the side. I've got Cooper Kupp with over 30.5 yards. Cooper Kupp revenge game en route. I got a multiplier boost on that one. Kenneth Walker with over 21.5 receiving yards. Higbee with over 14.5 receiving yards. Kyren Williams over 56.5 rushing yards. And Puka Nacua with over 92.5 receiving yards, because you know the man's going to get 59 targets in this football game. Please see their site for terms and conditions as they do apply on there. But thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring the show throughout this year. Thank you to you guys for utilizing my code NEST and taking advantage of that. And again, sponsor the show and get a little bit of money in your pocket. And we call that a win-win-win on that side of it. All right, I've got to bounce here over onto the other side here, as I've got another show en route that I'm going to be doing on a collab with the Rams channel. So we will put a bit of a button on this one. Last couple comments in here. We'll be good to go on the cross stuff. Have a good one, Addicted. Appreciate you, man. We'll be all right, Manny. We'll be good to go. Bo show. I don't know. Stidham isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but I believe in him. Well, he's been there for a while. He'll be familiar with the offense. He knows what he needs to execute. And Sean Payton's a smart offensive mind, so I'd imagine he's going to have some things dialed up here. Thank you, Randy. And again, always welcome in here, man. Anybody that comes in respectfully, love having you in here. You're welcome like family when you're like that. Doesn't matter whether you're a Hawk fan or another fan on that. You're all always welcome in that way. Appreciate you, Benelli. He also has 2 cats that are models. They bring in a decent secondary. True. Cats do make a lot of this channel too, man. Hang in there, still dreaming. Upstate New York, man. Sounds like the weather is going to get crazy. Crazy. All right, we're good to go. Yeah, The price we pay for free speech is that we have to listen to unpopular opinions. And that's where we can deal with a little bit of the stuff that comes in here. We understand that that's a little bit of the normality out here. But we're going to try to change, if we can, those folks that come in. And because when you can get to the place of having unpopular opinions that can go up against other popular opinions, and then they can kind of not duke it out, but debate it out. And let's have a logical, rational kind of conversation to try to maybe get a little bit closer to the truth. And maybe you swing one side or the other. Maybe you sway one person to another in that. And now you're really to the cool part of the conversation when you get there. And that's worthwhile to me. That's worth going down a little bit of a harder road to get to that place. And I think that's, again, as I say, I think that's what makes our channel this way. I think it started with Seahawks fans as they came in here and understood that that's what we're about. It's now continuing on with that, with outsider fans who come in that are beyond this fan base. And that's, to me, how this place ultimately grows. It will be by the community. It will be by you guys. It'll be by your voice. It'll be by the discussions that you guys drive in this chat, not by me. And that's why I'll always be very, very protective of it, because I love you guys and you guys make this place go. You absolutely make this place go. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up on that note. I thank you guys for watching today. If you can hit that like button for me, if you can sub on up for me, I would really appreciate that, as we're on the road here to 30,000 subscribers. That's the next milestone I'm looking to hit if I can. We've been rocking along well, and I really appreciate all of you guys for doing that. We might come back with one more quick show tomorrow if I get time. I got to pack up for this Mobile, Alabama trip that I'm taking next week down to the Senior Bowl in the frigid, freezing temperatures of the South. But we will try to get back tomorrow with maybe an offensive key breakdown like we did with the defensive key breakdown today, if I can get that in. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys for all you do for this channel. Megan, you are the best for that $500 donation. Unbelievable on your part. Thank you so much. Space, Jordan, Randy, Addis, Slobby One, Lord's Disciple, Sean Malik, Leo Dart, Jordan, again, M. Jordan, Black Thought Brown Dream, Slobby One, Matthew, Still Dreaming, Mark Sanchez, John Naylor Parks, and of course, the great Garth Knight. Thank you guys for all you do for this channel, as your support here is second to none. No other channel gets that kind of support on like I do here, and it's really, really appreciated. Somebody's asking me about what I do full time. This is what I get to do full time because you guys put that support in line. So thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate all of you guys for all you do for me, and we will be back soon. Seahawks are on the precipice of maybe going to the Super Bowl. I shouldn't have to remind you, shouldn't have to hype you up. I shouldn't have to lock you in, and I don't think I have to, but I'm going to do so anyway. Don't you ever forget. Go Hawks.